Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the PlayEX Arena here at GameACon East 2024. My name is HPBow64, and I'm joined here by Soav Dunham on the cast, as it's time for Mario Kart. Soav, time for some Mario Kart 8 Deluxe free-for-all tournament gameplay.
Oh, I know this is one that everybody around here, everybody's been waiting for. There's plenty of electricity in the air here at the Stanford Marriott. Anybody alive out there? Can I get some noise? There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, see, we're hyper ready for this, Bowsy.
Yeah, we are really hype and ready for the Mario Kart tournament. Of course, one of the staples of PlayEX Esports as a whole. And I mean, it wouldn't be such an amazing tournament without some amazing people helping make this entire thing possible here. So
no, let's start with the obvious one. We already shouted out the Marriott, but we also got Zasco Productions here giving us the beautiful sound and making us look incredible in addition to, GameACon itself. Shout out for GameACon for hosting us. So
100%.
I mean, who else we got? We got Blue, New Blue, who have been incredible for us. But I think the most important one here has to be the Starlight Foundation, right?
100%. All of these players who participate in this tournament made a donation to the Starlight Foundation in order to enter. So all of that money is going to a very good cause here. So it's great to see all of these people willing not just to play Mario Kart, but also willing to help out a very good cause.
And last but not least, there is one of our last sponsors who are helping. Oh God, I have to lift this. It's so heavy. All these prizes, and thank you, Razor, for bringing us the incredible prizes for the top 3 today. Oh God, that keyboard is heavy. But I don't want to tell you. Look, I love all those beautiful people, but we got some things to talk about here because you know about this. This is your game, I would dare say.
This is my wheelhouse. Mario Kart has been my bread and butter. I've played it since I was a little kid. Not to mention, I participated in the North American Championship for Nintendo last year. So I am very familiar with this sort of territory. It'll be interesting to see how these players are able to face off, especially in these sort of lobbies that we're going to be seeing here today.
Yeah, let's go on over and check out those lobbies, shall we, speaking of those players. So this is going to be kicking out lobby 1 here. And, I mean, there's quite a few names you recognize more than I do.
100%. We have Mangalore up on the stage alongside Kaioya, LPS, Jinja. Not gonna mess it up. Yodabite, Animiyashi, and Awoken all coming up to the stage here as we speak in our first round of qualifiers. So these people are going to be facing off to try and get the most amount of points possible in a 6-race series. And eventually the top 2 of the lobby will move on to face off into the championship round. So.
And it's hard not to talk about one of the particular names in that lobby that if you are remotely involved in the Pro Mario Kart scene, if you are even here, he's one of our special guests, which is Mangalore, who's just a phenom on the sticks. Honestly.
Mangalore has been a Mario Kart professional, the main content creator, the special guest of GameACon. You can't say that about us. No. We're just here for PlayEX Esports. Mangalore was administered as a special guest of this convention. One of the best Mario Kart YouTubers out there. I like to say he invented the term item smuggling, which means to bring power items from the back of the pack all the way to the front. He is probably one of the biggest favorites heading into this tournament.
Yeah.
But the question is, we saw it with the Smash Bros. Tournament earlier today, so do we see a David and Goliath story here today?
I mean, when you look at how many other names, looking through the list, there's what do we say, 19, I think, in this one.
I'm going to jump in right here.
It is 3 lobbies, but there's a lot of unknowns here. There's a lot of players. How many of them have been sitting there not necessarily knowing that there's a competitive
I'm going to jump right in here real quick. Oh. Ladies and gentlemen, competitors sitting at the table right now, please make sure you are in the order that you were shown on the leaderboard. So station number 1 is closest to this side. I'll show the leaderboard again. Make sure you're sitting in the correct spot. Otherwise, you won't get the points you deserve.
Let's bring it up for everybody. Why not? Because we can talk about the names over the top while we're showing that.
Yeah, we can talk about some of the names here. So Mangalore would be on station number 1. Again, we talked so much about Mangalore, but let's also talk about a little bit about Kaioya. Has been a notable member of the Mario Kart scene as of recently, hoping to make a big impact here today. LPS, if I'm not mistaken, we saw them during our Smash Bros. Tournament for a short period of time. Did not make it pretty far, but who knows? Smash Bros. May not be their bread and butter, so we'll see if they're able to keep it up. LPS would be on station number 3. Then you have Jinja Ninja, and I have a personal experience with Jinja Ninja. About 5 years ago, I used to be in the competitive Mario Kart scene, and Jinja was actually my teammate.
Oh, wow.
So we have a little bit of a connection there. So it's obviously obviously, we have now very much grown up these days, and Gidja has been in the local scenes. He's been competing throughout New York. He recently, if I recall, placed top 3 or won one of the recent Broad Street Blurs that have occurred in Philadelphia. So he's been all across the scene. And then you got some more unknown names. Yottabyte coming in here. Not a lot of people may not know about Yottabyte, who's going to be on station number 5. Animiyashi on station number 6. Another name I somewhat recognize. I've played with them a bit. And then you have Awoken, who is a more so new player into the scene, but has some strong finishes. They will be on setup number 7. So we'll see if these players are going to be able to contend with the best of the best here at the end of the day.
It would be really easy just for me to just pack it in and be like, oh yeah, Mangalor's in the lobby, they're just going to run away with it. But that's the thing about Mario Kart, right? With the chaos of it all. A lot of these newer faces that maybe aren't in the pro scene, maybe haven't been metal tested against, some of the higher arguable, haven't necessarily been tested. There's sometimes those strats that you never think about. Sometimes they bring in a new thing that really gives them an edge. So Mario Kart is one of those great equalizers where sometimes you'll just be in 7th place, catch the right item, and everything will work out for you in the end. As much as I'd love to say anything is guaranteed, we both know nothing is guaranteed in Mario Kart.
Yeah, definitely. Nothing is guaranteed until you cross that finish line at the end of the 3 laps, or 7 laps if you're counting Baby Park. But hopefully we don't need to see Baby Park here today. If you couldn't get it, that's a message to all of you to stop picking Baby Park. Regardless of which.
No, it's all right. Look, we on the desk formally disendorsed Baby Park, and that's our stance now for the rest of the time. Yeah. And I stand by it. That's okay. But just getting all the players in the lobby, getting names in, and everybody ready to go. As we all know, it's a big process, right? It's a lot to set up. Not everybody came with their Switch, but that doesn't mean that you can't play, especially at events like this. As long as you have, even if you don't have a controller, as long as there's someone willing to let you on, you can play too.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, we have setups right here over at the PlayEX Arena, and I've seen people be playing out the tables right outside. So they've been practicing for this tournament, trying to make sure that they have everything set up in the order that they need to. So definitely, it's fun to have that sort of connection with Mario Kart. Mario Kart has been around for most of our lives. Many of us grew up playing Mario Kart as kids, and now here we are, potentially watching it on the big stage, competing for cash prizes. And
it's one of those things that when you think of esports, right? Whenever you hear the word esports, you don't necessarily think about stuff like Mario Kart, but it really is. It's just not one of those ones that's at the forefront for whatever various reasons. So it is one of those things that still is steadily growing. There's a strong grassroots to it. And I always love showing off the grassroots esports that are growing as we see them.
Yeah, definitely. That grassroots esports is very important here as we take a look at the stage and everybody who's currently preparing their setups, getting everything sorted here, trying to get everything on deck here. Setting up their controllers, getting into the lobby here. We should be starting hopefully pretty soon here, but once we get started, the pandemonium is going to begin.
Yeah, and so let's run it back one more time, just in case you missed it. So our players today, that's going to be in this lobby. We have 3 separate lobbies. This is only the first. It's going to be 6 races in this, well, I'm going to call it qualifying segment. So 6 races sounds like a lot, but in reality, these races don't last that long, really. It's only a couple of minutes, 5 at most for like a single race. So, blink and you will miss these. You have a little bit of leeway when it comes to getting, a 3rd or a 4th in these kinds of lineups.
Yeah, definitely. As we see, we're just getting stuff sorted with the lobbies right now. Of course, we do need people in the correct order here in order to make sure that all the points can be tallied correctly here. So hopefully we'll be able to get that fixed here momentarily, and then we'll be getting into the races here as soon as we can. But it's definitely going to be exciting to see how this Mario Kart tournament is going to play out, especially with so many different variables at play. Yeah. And it's not just about, ooh, can you drive perfectly? No, there is. Every track has a different strategy. Yeah. Combos can be a big thing as well. The right card combination can make or break your race. There is such a thing as a meta composition. Yes. It used to be Waluigi Wiggler. That was the storyline. Yeah. A few years back, they changed the game. Yoshi started coming back into the meta, and right now it seems to be in a flux. There's multiple different styles that you can try to implement to make the best out of your race.
And let's not even discount any wild cards that just happen to hit something, because there's that individual skill and talent, right? If you just happen to find the right combination that works the best for you, maybe the meta doesn't work for you. Maybe you can't play what was working. Maybe it just didn't line up with your own style. So a lot of these individual choices and individual things, from the wheels down to even the glider, really do make a difference in addition to the stuff you don't necessarily have control of, like your map picks.
Yeah, definitely. Everything can be on the line. Anything can change as well in a flip of a switch because Mario Kart is a cruel beast.
Sure
it
is.
will hit you
sure
out
is.
in every opportunity. You will get sent with items all the way to the ends of the earth. So you got to make do with what you can here and try to find your way to the top.
And let's not even talk, and that's most of just what people think about when they think of Mario Kart. Let's add in now how important is drifting, how important is pathing in your line. How about just keeping those coins topped off all the time? And looks like we are getting ready here. Just still waiting for a little bit. We'll get a look at Mankalore, but it's from top to bottom, every single thing. Some of those smaller bits, like I said, like how many coins are you holding onto at any given point in time? What items are you holding onto at any given point in time? Are you using your rearview mirror? Are you using every single tool accessible to you? Really will help kind of define your top of the pack from the bottom of the pack.
And you mentioned coins as well. Coins are also an important factor.
Yeah.
The more coins you have, the faster you will go. So it's always good to have as many coins as possible, 10 being the maximum. And if you don't have 10, your goal should be trying to get 10 as fast as possible, because once you do, you're going to be heading a little bit faster than the rest of the field, so you got to make it work.
Every little bit helps here. We finally getting in, and I like it's a pretty good mix of level selection here so far.
Yeah,
I don't see anything that particularly strikes me as concerning, but I do see that I see a lot of different play styles coming out on these.
Yeah, definitely a lot of different play styles. I see some tracks that are meant for front runners, some that are much meant for being in the back, but we're going to be starting off here on Snowland, which is one of those tracks where you can make a comeback all the way from the back of the pack if you're lucky.
Yeah, it is one of those maps where it does lend you to a lot as we move into this full. You'll get to see a lot of everything. It's a lot to take in, but just pick a racer and stick with them for a little bit to check in, because it's quite a little bit to take in, but you'll get it and you'll see as we go. Yep. Yeah, like you said, it's a tough because it's a pretty straightforward course, all things considered, but the right items can really kind of rocket you forward if you hold on to them and get them right.
As we begin the first race here of the first lobby, riding alongside Kaioya here is running out with a Rosalina, an interesting pick here, running the Silver Arrow. A definitely bigger composition, especially when you're facing off against stuff like these Teddy Buggies who are just going to be trying to outrun this Rosalina at all costs.
It tells me they're playing a little bit more for stability as opposed to just trying to go max speed here. The other thing we kind of mentioned is you'll see Jinja just hit there, is making sure you're hitting those tricks at every chance. Every little speed boost on a map like this matters.
As now it's Jinja up here at second place, trying to catch up to Yottabyte, who's currently leading the standings. We talk about the biggest unknown. Yottabyte is the one that we don't know a lot about, yet here they are currently leading the standings here. So pretty good showing, if I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, Jinja just waiting. Does find that. There it is. That's a great shortcut they were keeping an eye out for. Didn't quite get him into first place, but it's a great shot. But that green shell definitely will, and Jinja will move on in.
Yep, Jinja moving up to first place here, using that ultra cut there, sniping out Mankalore as well. Mankalore is probably going to be trying to come back from that. But again, you saw that shortcut. That is why this track is considered a backer track. You want to use that shortcut to get all the way up to the top, so we'll see if these players, especially if you enter into the final lap, are going to do exactly that. Mankalore getting hit by a super horn, not ideal as the final lap begins here on Snowland.
Sitting in sixth, there's still a little bit of space for Mankalore to go, but Awoken in fourth equally, just getting hit by that lightning. I mean, that's unfortunate. This is a lot of visual clutter, so it's going to be tough to make that decision. And manages to get a little bit of a boost. It's not a great shortcut, but you'll have to take it. Meanwhile, Anime Yashi in second, moving in. It's still fairly close here.
Anime Yashi will take over the lead right now, trying to keep themselves safe here with the Mario and Scooty. Jinja right on their bumper, but right now it's Anime Yashi running away to the bank. Can Jinja try to get a better line here as they enter the final quarter? Oh. No, they try to go for the cut, but the red shell is there to deny them, and now they're stuck on that guardrail. Coyote is going to be taking third away with Anime Yashi winning the race. It's going to be LPS, currently the last player out. Unfortunately, going to be getting a 9th place, which means they lost to one of those coveted CPU players.
Yeah, unfortunate. That's just the way it is. Yeah, Peachette hung in there, and Pauline. So two of them. Jinja also, unfortunately, you try to take that shortcut, and sometimes it doesn't pan out. It's one of those decisions where it seems good in the moment, but you never know what's going on. You have to be so sure. You had a mushroom, maybe you could have beaten it, but this might come back to haunt you down the road. It's only one race, but that's still not as many points as you'd like to have.
There is always the potential to take a NISC or no item shortcut, but that shortcut is kind of difficult to pull out because of that upward slope. Yep. So it was a risk. It did not pay off for Jinja, but you still have 5 more races here if you are Jinja, and anybody else who finished lowly in that. Mankalore finished 4th, of course, so we could very well see that sort of dynamic change. As we head into our next race, we're heading over to Bangkok Rush.
nice little city course for everybody to kind of change this piece. It is a little bit more scenic and it is a little bit more windy, so you're gonna have to make sure you're getting the value out of those drifts, and it does change a little bit each time. So really gonna test the mettle of everybody's understanding of the maps and modes here. These kinds of short different routes will really kind of test if you understand how the map works.
As Anamiyashi gives us a little bit of show there that any Rave can guarantee as the racers begin heading down the Shalfraya River. Yonabite already falling back a little bit at the start of the race, but still trying to make their way back up so far. This is a track I feel like you also can get away with starting at the back and then making your way to the front, although it is a little bit harder compared to any other track.
There's a lot of time in this map. That's kind of the one thing it does bring to an advantage, is that if you start out low, if you start out late, and as long as there's still a pack that you can catch up to, it's going to be good. The red shell out from Mankalor does hit somebody, but it doesn't, we'll have to see how much. It does boost them into a third spot holding under a green shell now. Can they get it? No, looks like it just barely missed, but they get hit one in return.
Yep, someone's back spamming that green shell, hitting Mank right at that double item box. He's going to be falling back to fourth, but still does have a second section. The lightning bolt extremely early. It was LPS initiating that lightning strike, so going to be having an opportunity to try and come back in this situation. Does have the bullet bill. That is an instant ticket all the way to the front.
I mean, that's the best thing you could hope for here, regardless of those stars, and you have a star holding onto it here for LPS, so it's going to give you a little bit out. They're going to use it right away and just try to use this rest of the speed boost there. If it gets them into 10th, but it's still a little far away. As you can see, the top of the pack, there are two speeding away here, and it's Anamiyashi and Awoken, who is yet another one of those faces we had talked about. There's a lot of big names here, but a lot of these smaller names, these unknowns, are really making a case for themselves here.
As now the final lap begins, Anamiyashi looking to try and take the lead away from Awoken. Awoken, however, has some defense,
shell,
but they do not have any defense, it seems, up against this. The coveted blue shell makes his first appearance of the night, and Awoken is the first victim.
Thankfully, they had a little bit of a lead, so they'll be able to buy it. And then only spends it up. Mankalor now in third, trying to get some shots with those fireballs, but couldn't really have the sight lines to take care of it, though. Anamiyashi just going to go ahead and lead. They have a little bit of space, but it's just going to be the coins. That green shell there for protection is their best hope of maintaining this first place.
Yeah, Anamiyashi, very good showing here thus far, is going to get yet another first place. Really putting on a show here to start off this tournament. Meanwhile, Kaioya all the way, it seems, at the back of this main pack, going to be settling with a 7th place, which is good. You get that extra position. That means more points.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the middle of the pack is not the worst place you can be. By unfortunately, also falling pretty far back means that it's still pretty fairly contained here. Everybody's no runaways so far, but it means that everybody still has a pretty good chance of anything going up. We talked about how this game is a game where anything can happen. It stays as long as it stays that way, as long as the pack doesn't get too far out and we have no runaway winner. And we kind of question, is Mankalor just going to be the runaway winner? And no, the answer is apparently not.
No, Mankalor has only finished 4th and 2nd in these two races, so it has not been smooth sailing for the coveted Mario Kart god of YouTube. Anamiyashi has been there to really take these past two victories. And now as we head over to race number 3, this is the halfway mark. You got to make a play here if you're one of those back markers, and it looks like we're going to be heading over to Big Blue, one of the 2 F-Zero tracks in this game.
No repeating, so it's all downhill from here. You'll get a look at the scores across the board. Anamiyashi at 30 and Awoken, and Mankalor sitting in 3rd overall. But yeah, Big Blue is one of those ones. It is just a straight line down, so there's no real redos. This is always forward. You have to make sure you're paying attention to your full course. There's no doubling back here, but you also don't want to get knocked off or hit against those walls. There's still plenty of places to fall off here.
And Big Blue is also known for a lot of shortcuts, especially if you cut the corners. The gravity is lower here, so you can make those interesting shortcuts to try and take the advantage. We ride along with Mankalor, currently sitting in 5th, waiting for the opportunity. Gonna shoot that red shell out to Kaioya and knock that Rosalina back. So Mankalor trying to make some early gains here so far, but it's not going to be making a lot of progress as it seems.
It is tough as we jump in with LPS to really kind of make sure those work. The lightning did go off there, but barely hanging in there. Yeah, this is a quick track. If you valued speed and acceleration over your turning, this might be a track where you get punished for it.
As we see some of those shortcuts come in action here on lap number 2, Jinja, Awoken, and I believe Anamiyashi all taking that shortcut. Ooh, I believe that was a banana snipe onto Awoken, getting rid of that player. Jinja's also going to get hit out here by the red shell, and it's Mankalor coming back up through the pack, trying to stay stake his claim. A red shell chasing him all the way to the ends of the earth here as the final lap begins.
I mean, that is the benefit of beginning in 3, 4, and 5, right? You get a little bit of, you get the heat off you for now, but you still get some decent items going into this. And Jinja is going to speed past with that star. Yeah, sitting in 3rd and 4th. That's their bonus for that. Boomerang goes back, doesn't quite catch anybody, but it'll have to do for defenses for now.
Jinja trying to get a win under their belts. Makealor hot on their tails as they approach the final stretch here of Big Blue. It is a race to the finish. You said it, it's a linear track. Everybody going for it, and Jinja has no one in their sights. Their rearview mirror is clear, and they will be taking the second victory. Makealor right behind him to score second. Awoken will get 3rd. Anime-Yashi gets a 4th place, so they finish outside of the top 3 for the first time in this, and actually outside of the top 1 for the first time.
But let's be real. Any of these guys making a showing like that is still impressive. Unfortunately for LPS, hitting that 11th. I mean, it could have been worse.
Not
you
last.
could have had the 12. Yeah, it's not full last. But it does, again, hurt the points a little bit, and you can see it as the numbers continue to tally. We're starting to see the pack separate here. I mean, a player like Anime-Yashi has such a hit like that, it's hard not to notice. That is, like, anybody in the audience looking out that has to just be aware of that. These kinds of newer faces, like we were questioning, really are looking good. They don't even look stressed either. None of these players all these players looking pretty fine for now.
Stone-faced after the halfway mark of this Grand Prix session. Again, 6 races in this lobby. The top 2 in points will move on to the Grand Finals round. Everybody else will move over to to play in positions to try and get themselves back in at a different time. Be interesting to see how this goes on as we continue through this Grand Prix, and it looks like we're going to be heading over to Squeaky Clean Sprint for race number 4.
The water levels. Everybody loves them or they hates them, and there's no in between. But it is a good one of those courses that kind of washes it away, right? What a good metaphor for being able to wash away the first half of this this qualifier, right?
Yeah, definitely. We'll see how these players are going to be able to respond here on Squeaky Clean Sprint. A Smash player's worst nightmare, the shower. As we load in here to the bathroom level, Jinja is gonna be leading the charge, but Anime-Yashi and Awoken are already there to steal the item boxes and steal those positions.
Yeah, and again, these quick starts for them both have benefited in all these previous races. So Koya did manage to peek their way into 4th using that Rosalina, but Awoken with this Yoshi has been one of those top contenders. Again, relatively newer to the scene, but making a name for themselves here in Stanford.
Yeah, Awoken, mainly known in the New England scene for participating in the 1UP games monthly. Trying to make a statement here, doing a pretty good job here so far on Squeaky Clean Sprint as they fly over the toilet bowl and make their way into this final hairpin turn. Anime-Yashi behind them, the bomb snipe from behind. I believe that was Makealor getting a bomb snipe. Makealor, I can confirm, knows how to snipe in Mario Kart.
Yeah, you don't make it to those top Nintendo events without being pretty good at the game, as the children would say. So Makealor will continue to cement themselves into the top 3, but Anime-Yashi holding on the star, I think it's kind of just waiting now, right, until the point where you can actually get somebody in your sights to use it on, because the speed's nice, but if you really can't get anybody to cement, knock anybody out or cement your position, so it's not as good.
As now Jinja still leading the pack here. However, the coveted blue shell approaches. Jinja tries to back up, trying to see if they can catch somebody off guard. Awoken is going to be taking the brunt force, but Jinja's going to be being that back spam instead. Going to be falling all the way back to 5th, and you have to wonder, was it worth it?
Yeah, I don't know if that was one of those decisions that might haunt you in this, because, yeah, you didn't get blown up, but the pack is, you can only kind of get away with that when the pack is separate, right? There's still multiple people fighting for these first 4 spots, so might have been a questionable decision. Yodabai up in 4th now, though. After so long, a Wiggler on a Wiggler is a nice sight.
Wiggler and a Wiggler, Yoshi and a Yoshi, both of them are very nice sights here in Mario Kart, and both are actually possible with the Booster Course Pass DLC. Yodabai trying to make some sort of moves thus far, but so far it is getting hit by every obstacle on the track. We'll get that double item box that could help them, but Makealor, meanwhile, is in 2nd. Anime-Yashi, we've said them so many times, they're once again in 1st. They try to go for the backspam, but Makealor is not hit. Makealor seems to be defending for position more so than going for the aggressive, knowing that they need it.
What a shot!
Snipe on the Jinja as well to deny that pass. Makealor will not be denied a top 2 slots.
And that is the mark of a truly good player, being able to hit those snipes like that. Makealor coming and taking that 2nd. Yeah, it's hard. Look at all these new faces taking it, and Makealor has so much to prove in this moment, right? Not only is he the special guest here, not only is he arguably the most YouTubeable person in this entire building, But when you're starting to get, you're starting to lose those positions to new faces, you kind of got to stand your ground and say, look, I got to show you why I am as meaningful and as powerful as I am.
Yeah, definitely a good performance from Mangalore there to solidify themselves in the top 2. And apparently that may or may not have been the final race of that Grand Prix. Does look like it indeed. So your top 2 from that, moving on to the next round, are Animeyashi and Mangalore.
Okay, that means Awoken and Jinja will be playing in for that last chance bracket. But, I mean, that was not an easy, that was arguably, that was not a tough qualify. That was not an easy pass. No one really got anything easy. There was no easy rounds there.
No, definitely, especially when you had people like Mangalore. We mentioned them so many times. They didn't win a race, yet we're still consistent. That is what Mario Kart can be about sometimes. Sometimes it just pays to be consistent. You don't have to win every single race. If you're able to be at the top spots throughout most of the Grand Prix, you're going to win. Take a look at Jinja, for instance. They won that, if I recall, they won that third race, but didn't have enough points to make it to the top 2 because the other 2 people were too consistent. Granted, one of them won 3 of the 4 races, but the point still stands. Consistency matters in Mario Kart, and if you could just be consistent in that top, you have a chance of moving on.
I don't think I have anything more to that. You nailed it. Consistency is the name of the game in this very inconsistent game, but I mean, that's why we love it, right? That's why we all that's why we all gather around the TV, plug in all our controllers, and play these kinds of games. That was a lobby number 1, and this is the this is our results, I believe. Yeah, 54 for Animeyashi, and it's rough because that was like you said, it was a tough lobby. Even looking at these numbers, though, they're all still fairly close. If we had gone a full 6, these numbers could have shifted a little bit more. So no one really coming out with a comfortable lead out of this.
Absolutely not. All these people being very close in the points. I mean, the difference between first and fourth is one win in a 12-player lobby. So that tells you how close this competition really is between all these players. And it may just get closer from here as we get more into the talent play and we head into our next lobby with multiple different players. Starting off on set number 1, we have R. Wismer. I'm definitely not going to mispronounce that the entire day.
That's going to be a tough one.
But R. Wismer coming out here on lobby number 2. The OG MPB on lobby number R. Wismer on station number 1. The OG MPB on station number 2. Stoat on station number 3. Stoat, we remember from the Smash Brothers tournament just a few hours ago, so we know that they can be a pretty good player in Smash Bros. Can they follow it up in Mario Kart? After that, it's Rico Chico on the 4th setup on setup number 4. Mapmaker 508 on setup number 5. Crunchy Mage on setup number 6. And Nina Hart on setup number 7 here.
You know what excites me the most about this, Bowsy? About seeing that lobby? There's not a face that even if you're... So I'm not hip with the Mario Kart crowd, admittingly. But you know what excites me? Not a single name that I recognize. Not a single name. So this is a lobby of a chance to break out and make a name for themselves. This is a chance where it's very fair. There's no, this person's projected to win. There's nothing out here. This is a very solid ground of a group, which means that anybody who really comes in those top 2 and even top 4 truly earned it.
Yeah, definitely. This is a bunch of people that are not familiar with the Mario Kart scene, so anything can happen. There are some people that I know that have personally, including the OG MPB, playing in this room. I actually was practicing with them earlier today. They could be a formidable opponent.
I'm not saying there's not formidable faces here. I'm saying there's no this person's just going to
there's no clear winner in this group from what we know of our analysts. So anybody could really take away the victory here. So it'll be interesting to see if these players are able to do exactly that. As we're waiting for everything to get loaded in, we're waiting to see what these players are going to be able to do here in this game. Because again, anything can happen in Mario Kart. We just witnessed Mangalore come only a few points away from being sent to a last chance qualifier instead of to the grand finals.
It's worth noting that this is the second lobby of our 3 lobby set, so they'll be doing 4 races at 150cc just as a catch-up. Top 2 will go on, and the 3rd and 4th place will go into a qualifying round. And it does come down. 4 races, we were looking at 6 initially, but 4. Now you don't have nearly as much breathing room here, Bowsy. Now every single point matters. So you just gotta take your breaths, gear up, and do your best you can. Set your loadouts and get yourself as ready as you can. Most of these players have been playing this and preparing for this for a while, so you should be good to go.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to see if these players are going to be able to live up to the expectations, be able to bring themselves into the limelight here as we're getting everything loaded here with all of our players. We'll eventually be getting everyone into the room here momentarily. But definitely, so far, a pretty strong showing here for, I mean, a pretty strong showing round number 1, but round number 2 has a bunch of wild cards on the table.
I'll say, there's, Lobby 2 has a lot to live up to in a lot of ways, because that was a very close setup of it all. I mean, there was quite a bit of, we saw the same faces near the top, but it was never really a secure thing. We never saw anybody really run away with it. And that's kind of one of those things of Mario Kart that really makes it such a fun and it gives you that adrenaline rush, knowing that, you could be first to 8th in the blink of an eye like that.
Yeah, anything can happen, especially when you are in Mario Kart. So it's going to be interesting to see if these players can really stand up to the test of Mario Kart being all over the place. So
calling Rico Chico. Is Rico Chico here?
Oh, we're looking for one of our players.
We're looking for multiple of our players. We only seem to have 4.
Rico Chico, are you here?
Would be a shame if we were just
Not
to pass
coming?
all 4 of these guys.
No? Who said that? Not coming? Okay.
Oh, well, all right, Rico Chico.
We already got one person.
Matt Maker 508.
I mean, let's talk about the implications of this for a minute, since it is possible. So our lobby of, it looks like 3, 6, 8.
Is there a
suddenly
Matt
drops
Maker
to
508
6.
in the house?
That does make it a lot, it's not a free pass for these players, but it is quite a bit of a, it's a little bit of a sigh of relief in some ways, right? Like, you only have to be better than so many fewer people now.
All right, we are down 2, unfortunately.
Yep, we're down 2, so
That's
now
the way
that
it
lobby
is.
has just been turned into 4. So
2, 3,
that means 5.
1, 2, 3,
Excuse me.
5, yeah. So realistically, there's only one person going out here. That's, it would be a shame to be that 5th person, but it does a little bit, like I said, it was a little bit of a sigh of relief. The pressure's a little bit off you. It means that you stand a pretty good chance of going on in some sort of way. So, call it the lucky lobby, if you will, but sometimes that's just the way these events are.
Yeah, definitely. We seem to be getting everything sorted here. People are joining the lobby. People trying to get their names sorted. Somewhat fearful because one of those was my Switch, and I do not want my data to be deleted. I'm pretty sure I've already
I heard someone hack his Switch so he gets a hardware ban. That's what I heard.
Please don't.
I'm kidding, Bowsy.
I know you are. I just,
Look, Overlord Nintendo. We don't want to upset Daddy Nintendo. We're not going to do that here. Not in Stamford, Connecticut. Not now. Not over this.
No, we're not going to be upsetting Daddy Nintendo as we have people leaving into the lobby here momentarily. So we'll see how these players are going to be able to live up to the name, be able to perform to their absolute maximum here. It seems like everyone's starting to get into the room as we speak.
Yeah, and I want to jump back really quickly because it's nice to look at that back lobby. We did see, you had called it out, we had seen quite a few Yoshis, so we had seen quite a few people who really seemed to take to that meta of what might be the best, quote unquote. But it still doesn't necessarily mean, just because you have the best doesn't mean you understand how to work it or it's for you. So still a lot of things to do as we're waiting on our last player to get in, and we'll get this rolling. But it's good to see that there are different varieties, different understandings of this. The meta sometimes the meta works for you and sometimes it doesn't.
Shout out to Spaghetti064 in Twitch for being our 200th follower. Thank you.
Hey.
Wow.
Spaghetti064, you are the 200th best person because obviously the first best was the person who followed first.
100%. It probably
And
was.
they're cheering for OG MPP.
Hey, everybody's got their fans here and in the arena. What do you say, right? Like everybody needs someone to cheer them on.
100%. You always need someone to cheer on the people in the stands as we seem to be getting started here with the qualifiers. So we'll see if these players are going to be able to make the most out of the situation. It is only 4 players, so it's going to be a little bit different, but still, all 4 of these players are vying for spots in the seating.
The other thing that's worth noting is that it is going to limit, and again, we only have 4. Oh, do we not have our 5th player?
No, we don't. It's 4 people apparently.
Okay, so now we're just vying for positioning then, I believe.
Yep, we're vying for seeding at this point.
Okay,
Top 2 will move on to that finals match, and then the other 2 will be facing off in the losers round. So we'll see if these players are going to do exactly that as we started off here with Mario Circuit 3.
Blink and you'll miss these ones, especially if you aren't really paying attention, because this one's the longer of the early Nintendo ones, but I mean, these courses move really, really quick, so you have to make sure your actions have their consequences. If you get a shot and you make a hit, make it good. If you have a boost, make it work.
Right on line with Crunchy Mage, who is using an inward drifting bike, which is a rarity in the top level scene. You'll see those occasionally. the players who do it really good at using inward drifting bikes. But most people like to go for these outward drifting. Very good drag as well there to get rid of OGMPB, and Nina Hart as well falling to that red shell. Definitely so far an interesting sort of battle of these players we've been seeing so far this off.
Yeah, you can still see that it's not quite breaking away yet, but still quite a bit of contention at the top as OG MVP sitting in 4th. Again, all these players are going to go on in various great use of that mushroom for the shortcut to blow past the sand there. Puts them in at least a bit ahead, but it is tough because, again, you have to make every item work. We're already well over the halfway point of this race after all.
Yep, OGMPB trying to make their worthwhile. And meanwhile, it's Nina Hart in the front. The only person of these 4 that is using this meta composition, this Yoshi Teddy Buggy comp that has been reigning supreme, it seems, in the top level. The closest you got to that is OGMPB, who is running on that Mr. Scooty, but Nina Hart seems to be the one that's running away with it right now. Yeah,
she's taking a gap and kind of moving it slowly, but it's not quite out of the way. Like, you're in a safe spot, but not quite. Stoke back in 7 did manage to catch a Bullet Bill, so it is going to catch up into the pack. Everybody just has to make sure they avoid it. Catches one, dodges on the second one, but it does bump him into 3rd with 3 mushrooms and 1 more item to come, a red shell. That is enough to get yourself into a top 3 spot.
If you can take the turn, that is, the tight hairpin there at the end of MC3. OGMPB looking from afar, looking to try and hit that beautiful mushroom boost to try and get a top position. Will they risk it? Red Shell comes in behind them. It looks like they're going to be saving it for another day. They're going to settle with that 2nd place finish here. Meanwhile, it's Crunchy May trying to catch up, currently in 6th place. Stolat is right on their bumper, but they're going to be able to outbest them.
And then when you're looking at how many, humans versus robots are in the lobby, it is at least something. Again, we're still playing. It's 4. Yeah, all 4 of them are technically going to go on in some capacity, but you'd still really like to not have to worry about playing in and giving that. A break to kind of give your nerves a calm would be wonderful. So we'll have to go from there as we go into our 2nd race.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll see what these people are going to be trying to select here for their next race, because there's so many tracks you can choose from. A whole 96
That's
tracks.
Incredible. Remember, I'm going to say, back in the day, we had maybe, 16 courses you could play, 20 if you were lucky, back in, the Super Nintendo Mario days. Like, what a time to be alive and enjoying kart racing.
Yeah, it was 20 to 16, depending on which game you got. Then with the DS, they increased it to 32.
Yep.
And then with this game, then with the Wii U version, 48 if you had all the DLC, and now you get double that in the Booster Course Pass. You get such tracks such as Shy Guy Falls, which we're going to be heading over to next.
It's going to be a lot more in the way of, fall hazards, trip hazards. So it's going to be a lot to watch out in addition to the normal hazards of your players and opponents. So, this could be a tough follow-up point, but thankfully for players like Crunchy Mage, you are starting in the middle of the pack. You might get the item boost. You just kind of have to push your way through and make sure you get those double items to get yourself an advantage.
Shy Guy Falls, the biggest obstacle course is what you see there on the right side. That is the reverse waterfall. Very infamous. If you get caught on that, there is very little way to catch back up unless you're lucky enough to catch a speed boost here. But we'll see if these players are going to do exactly that. Crunchy Mage still rocking this inside drifter, trying to get the Dragon OGMPB and Will right at the beginning of that backwards waterfall. That could be devastating.
Could be, and you can see the pack is starting to thin out a little bit, but holding onto that banana for safety is going to have to be the starting point for now. There's the red shell coming in. Oh, they let it go. That's unfortunate.
Decides not to drag it, tries to go for the time drop, but unfortunately not there to protect them. Now OGMPB in 2nd. 1 red shell to their name. They're going to throw it forward to try and catch out Nina Hart. And also, first lap, blue shell coming in play here for Nina Hart.
There is your blue shell. And Nina, considering Nina had quite a substantial lead, they're just going to eat it. They know it's coming. They will have to give up a little bit of space, but they've been pretty much a leader here, so they might be able to pull it back.
OGMPB looking for the advantage here. There's Nina Hart getting hit by Stoat, taking the lead with a red shell in tow. Another inside drifter player here, so that's 2 in this lobby, and both of them are doing pretty good. They're remaining content with the pack.
Like I said, when you don't have that training, sometimes you can be weighed down by the meta, so sometimes you have to find those individual things that work for you. And in players like Stoat, it's just making your own way, so he'll get the high path here. And he's holding on to those red shells for now, but meanwhile, OGMVP, 2 red shells to name, and in 2nd place, you're not going to do much except sit back. You're going to hold those defensively here. So now it just becomes, especially with that lead ahead of you, you just have to play defensive.
They do lose that final red shell to that Boo, however, so someone is getting a red shell for free. Meanwhile, a blue shell is on the way towards Stoat. They don't have anything to defend against it. NPB has that Piranha plant. Meanwhile, Crunchy Mage trying to catch up here with Nina Hart in tow. As we approach the final lap here, Stoat still with a clear advantage, though, and is starting to run away from the rest of the pack.
Yeah, just clearly making good use of that inside bike, making sure to hit their drifts. The only thing really missing, you'd love to see a little bit more tricks coming out on those individual hops. But hey, the man's at first place. I can't be too mad about that.
You cannot be mad about it if you are Stowed as they approach the final glider section and approach those final 2 turns to try and claim victory here on Shy Guy Falls. It's all about hitting these final 2 turns, a banana in hand. They are all safe from any sort of threat of red shells. Here comes one from Nina Hart. Is there a second one to try and stop their momentum? The answer is no. Stote's going to be winning here on Shy Guy Falls. Nina Hart looking to try and take home a top 2 finish, and will do exactly that. And it's the OG MPB coming in 3rd.
Crunchy, again, just unfortunately having a rough time in the middle of the pack. It's not what you can do about that whole the start. It just seems like the bike just didn't quite work to be what they wanted on this kind of windier path. So, you know, still, again, when you know all 4 of them are going on in some capacity, it becomes a time, especially in a group like this, where maybe there's not no names. This is that time to sit there, learn, give it a try, and just try to get a little bit better. Take what you're learning and say, okay, I can go to the play-ins. Let me make my adjustments. What do I need to do? Do I need to change my bike wheels? Can I go on and improve? And, you know, that's kind of the good thing about these environments like this. It's a safe spot to test out your skills against some of those players you may never see online.
100%. So we'll see if these players are going to be able to make work of it here as we head over to our 3rd race. We've hit that halfway mark, and there are a lot of interesting tracks here, and the one that we're going to be going to is the most interesting of them all. Rainbow Road.
One more race after this. This is number 3. Usually you end on a Rainbow Road, as you're supposed to. At least that's what the cups say. You're supposed to end on Rainbow Road. But this is one of the more interesting ones, right? It's a lot more up and down. There's still a lot of places you can fall off, but it's very easy to extend a lead here. If you get a quick early lead out, you can just kind of run away with this. So we're going to have to keep an eye on who manages to get these items quick and fast here.
And there's also the potential for a lot of these people to try and take some of these multiple ultra shortcuts that you can make use on this track. There's a lot of strategy here on Rainbow Road to try and make the most out of this race and get yourself in the front. OG MPB is trying to get there right now with some tight drifting. Crunchy Mage, however, right on her bumper. Still seems everybody is closely knit together. It is a close group of 5 players right now, all toward the front of the pack. Crunchy Mage is, however, going to be going to the earth.
Went looking for the pick, but didn't quite stay on short course, so a little bit punished for that, unfortunately. OG MVP does have quite a lead now as they come past that first jump with the Inkling behind them. And, you know, having that extra player buffer behind you just does so much. Look at the coin. Still only at 6, though, overall is going to be very. Meanwhile, Nina Hart back and forth has been struggling a little bit on and off on those, but still holding in there.
Here comes the blue shell, however, for OG MPB is going to hinder their progress a little bit. But they are going to still keep this lead in their favor here, approaching the 2nd lap on Weibo. Nina Hart, however, has triple green, shooting them all down the chute, trying to stop this Inkling boy in front of them. Still, it is a MPB running away with it thus far. People not seeming to contest her as it is right now.
No, not really able to, and that's kind of the problem. Once you get on a long course like this, where once it thins out, it just kind of becomes getting away with it. Nina will grab the double box and have to hope for the best. Stoke back all the way and having an awful time. They're finally sneaking back in. Have to try to take advantage and make those shortcuts you were talking about here.
Yeah, still going to be grabbing these points as well on that half pipe, so we'll see if they're going to be able to make use of some of these shortcuts that not many people may know. Triple mushrooms and a golden mushroom means they have an opportunity to really take this cut if they know it. They don't, however.
Oh.
If you had that boost there, you would have been able to make it. That is the ultra shortcut that in question. You got to try to take that very tight corner here. Meanwhile, it is Nina Hart still in 2nd place, pulling triple mushrooms in 2nd. That just shows how far away MPB is from the rest of this pack.
It's where the game's like, no, you need this to catch up. There's nothing else in your way right now. And I think that's the problem with this course, right, is you go almost split the gap there, but manage to get it. And that's the problem with this level, right, is you can't focus too much on speed. If you get too focused on speed and trying to do that, you could find yourself off, as many of our players have. But I see the blue shell sneaking up there, so it might buy a little bit of time.
Yeah, MPB, not the greatest, still in 1st place, bomb behind her. She's going to be using it right there. The blue shell, however, is beating her a visit, and now Nina Hart has closed that gap up to 1st place. Red shell as well uses the spin booster to block it.
It's a good play. That was a smart play, and thankfully they'll maintain the lead from that. Nina Hart just going to have to go ahead and probably just look to settle for 2nd here and cement themselves. That's probably the safest bet, especially when you look at Nina Hart in the previous 2 races. Has kind of struggled a little bit just to get, you know, these higher place rankings. It's probably the best you can do for now, especially with 4 red shells. You might send them all, but I don't know that they're going to hit.
They're going to send all 4 red shells toward OG MPB, but it's not enough to stop her. MPB gets the win on the 3rd race of this series. Crunchy Meg looking for a 4th place. The blue shell right in front of her gets the CPU in the bullet bill, and they fall right off the edge in traditional Wii Rainbow Road fashion. They will still come home in 4th, however.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, hey, you're on a stage. Look, for a lot of these players, it's a new environment. Most of us don't necessarily know how to manage those nerves on stage, and that happens. But again, you just kind of got to do your best. And all these players are going on, as we're saying. We'll see who ends up going into the qualifier round. But all things considered, it's hard not to look, because we were seeing in the first lobby, there was no real standout player. No one really escaped for it. But here, we're seeing these players really kind of escape with clearing first places and putting so much distance between them, and it's making these races so much harder to catch up into.
Yeah, it definitely is. We're now loading into the final race of this Grand Prix. Toad Harbor is the place in question, so we'll see if these players are going to be able to make use of this track and try to get themselves up. Currently, Nina Hart and OGMPB looking on the road to getting into that finals matchup.
Still a little bit of space. All it takes is one really bad race to get it, but again, all 4 of these players are going to go on. It's just going to come to the qualifier. And in a place like Toad Harbor, you do have a couple of options of where to go. You have a couple spots you can make some sneaky tricks and boosts. But again, it's going to come down to, can you make these sharp hairpin turns and can you boost appropriately? I say that.
Ship Stoat, unfortunately, goes into the drink. This is the item as well, so they're going to be in the back for quite a while here. Still, all these players just riding it out. Crunchy Mage is going to be going up to this top road. Try and take advantage of this little bit of a shortcut. You take the turn tighter, you're able to take that jump and get a little bit faster speed compared to the bottom half. Stoat going to be meeting them to inside drifting bikes, going to be meeting up and eventually going to be separated. MPB, meanwhile, taking this anti-gravity path.
Interesting. Gives them a little bit of an angle on that, and it might, whether it's fast or not, it did help them catch up to Nina, who has been slowly catching that lead. Red Shell has to try to get a sight to see if there's anything blocking, and we see it, but Nina has a banana there. Now the question is, do they know it's there? No, they're going to take away the defenses.
Nina Hart going to be losing one of their defenses, trying to keep this lead in their own. They have a coin as their second item slot, which is going to be difficult as the race goes on. MPB taking the top road of that structure. Still trying to catch up to Nina Hart right now. The green and the red thrown in tandem. That green shell bouncing off of every structure it can as MPB is still trying to catch up. But right now, it's Nina Hart running away with this lead.
Yeah, again, we're finally seeing, once these first places kind of just get a little bit of speed and they get a little pacing away, they tend to run away with it. And that's kind of one of those benefits of falling second, third, fourth, right? You don't necessarily get stuck and weighted down with all the coins or whatever items that can't really give you an advantage.
MPB is going to be taking this cut right here at the end of the track, being able to skip across the grass there, moving into the final lap, gets hit by the blue shell as they were trying to dodge it. Nina Hart, meanwhile, does not have any protection against that blue shell, will get hit, so the lead starting to close here. MPB starting to make a little bit of an advance. The question is, can they get there in time to try and take it away?
Unfortunately, Mr. Rand will have to settle for the Constellation Ink, and that will hopefully slow a little bit of players like Stoke. And he's going to be in that neck-and-neck position here. Every point matters at this point, but the Crazy 8 is alive for Stoke.
Using the start first, followed by the coin, using every single item in tandem, trying to catch up to Crunchy Mage, who's just running away with that golden mushroom and surviving the brute of the damage. Nina Hart in first, does get hit by the red shell, but the lightning bolt is there to keep them alive. Now there's no items behind them, and Nina Hart is going to be cruising over to a win here on Toad Harbor. OGMPB trying to chase down this computer piece, but won't be able to get it done. But with the points they have, they guarantee a spot in the finals.
Yeah, those are likely our top 2 there based on how these races have gone. We'll see our last 2, Crunchy Mage and Stoke, picking up 9 and 7. And, I mean, hey, all 4 of them will go on. So we have our 2 going on and our 2 going. So, hey, like I said, it's one of those things where worst case scenario, everybody here is getting to go on in some capacity. It's just tough. I think it really does speak to the difficulty of all this whole lobby, right? Our first lobby was incredibly close and tight. This one, maybe you could argue that there's some runaway moments, but what does this lobby look like when we have a full lobby of players, though, Bowsy?
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to see how these lobbies adapt. Of course, that was just with 4 people. With 8 people, it could be total pandemonium. We'll have to see if that's going to be the case later on in this tournament. But definitely a strong showing thus far for all these players, trying to make the most of what they can. And we'll see if those people who unfortunately were unable to make that top 2 will be able to try and make a comeback in that lower bracket round. But I mean, we saw that first sloppy, so the competition is hot.
Yeah, this competition is no joke here. There is quite an impressive amount of players, an impressive degree of players in the lobbies across, including our third lobby, who is quite honestly just a bit more stacked than it all.
As we take a look at the stats here, you see Nina Hart and the OG MPB leading the stats 54 and 47 points respectively. Nina Hart, very similar point total to Anamiyashi, in fact, who won 3 races, did not win the fourth. So there's the potential for that to really come into faction as we head into the final lobby of them all, lobby number 3. And there's a lot of names here that are going to be interesting.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun.
With Creax 911 up in the front, going to be on setup number 1. Darky on setup number 2. That's another person who was in the North American Championship last year, 2023. And you want to talk about North American Championship? Luckyo in there as well. Another player who was in that championship running.
I mean, and then looking at Station 4 here, Boney, who's, again, one of those fresh faces we're keeping an eye on, but in 5, Goji, the Yoshi there, has been playing, and it looks like they're fairly newer to the competitive circuit, has put up some pretty decent results, but are hanging on there. In 6 will be Toucan, who, just an incredible run in the Smash section earlier, by the way. So I would have to assume if they play Mario Kart like anything they do in Smash, they are going to be a contender here, and taking up that 7th spot is going to be Jealous. So a nice, pretty full lobby this time around.
Yeah, full lobby of 7 players, so we'll see how these players are going to fare out here in this matchup, because everything is on the line. You get that top 2 spot, you lock yourself in the grands. If you get the top 4, you can put yourself in a spot to get the grands, so we'll see if these players are going to do exactly that. And again, so many high-profile names, so many players who definitely could make an impact here in this matchup, and could book their tickets at the end. As we take a look, there's our current finals lineup of our 8 players. 4 have been locked in. That's Anamiyashi, Megalore, Nina Hart, and the OG MPB. All have locked themselves into the finals right now. So 2 people from this round are going to be joining them, and then it's the qualifier to determine who's going to be joining them.
And if you're obviously like aware of the scene, Mankalore is a familiar name who you would expect there. But a lot of those other names, it's really interesting to see. We were talking about, they are some of the newer generation. They are some of the newer players coming in. So to see them contest and do so well just says a lot. And going into this, like you said, this is a death lobby. I would be afraid to play in this lobby if I was anybody, because there are so many high-profile players, and only 2 of them get to go on. This is going to be, people are going to be fighting for their lives here.
Yeah, definitely. Everyone's going to be fighting for their lives. So many high-profile players that want a spot at that top. They want a chance to win this tournament and win some of these amazing Razor prizes, which, of course, Dave cuts away from the camera as we're about to point that out.
Oh, there we go. Perfect.
There we go. Now we can show some of these amazing Razor prizes that these people are going to be walking away with. So they'll be able to walk away with some of those. You want to be in that finals, and you want to play in front of your friends in the finals as well.
Yeah, and I mean, this is, again, 19 in the field is a pretty big number, all things considered. It's no, Nintendo qualifiers, but it's a pretty moderate good showing. And the quality, considering the quality of players is that level, I mean, hey, no shame if you end up taking 4th or 5 or 6 in a lobby like this. I think this is a great learning experience for everybody here. And hey, if you go on and get the shot to play for the top 3, even better.
Yeah, I mean, I started when I did my first tournament, which was in 2019 at PAX East. I just went into there thinking, I'm gonna see what I can do. Yeah. I ran it all the way to the finals. I got 4th place. So it shows what you are able to do. Sometimes you may not know how good you really are compared to your fellow players. So you may be able to make an impact when it matters the most. So we'll see if these players are going to be that next big star that they're hoping that they want to be.
Yeah, and even just the ability to race with this quality of player brings you to a next level, right? Being able to play with some of those names who have played at those higher levels, and heck, maybe even casting next to someone who's about that higher level will give you a little bit of an edge for those kinds of future things. So, even if you don't win, the true prize is the experience we learned along the way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not one to brag, but I have a trophy from Nintendo for reaching the end of the qualifiers, and I won 1st place at PAX 2024. So, but that
I knew you looked familiar. Wait a minute. That's true. He did win it and lose.
It depends on the tournament you're talking about. I won the last one, which is the one that counts. The one where they didn't have the weird rule changes midway through. So, regardless of which, we're getting everybody into the room here. We're about to get started here on what will be the final group stage. After this is that last chance qualifier. Currently, that lobby for the last chance, it's looking scary. So you have Awoken, you have Jinja, You have Yoda Bite, Kaioya, LPS Stoat, and Crunchy Mage, all in the first of the second chance lobbies.
Yeah, there are a lot of players in this second chance lobby that definitely just had a hard time. It's a tough lobby in front of them. And there's definitely some players that just kind of struggled and never really got off the ground. So it's going to come down to how does the second chance lobby play out, and it's going to come down to a lot of randomness. Again, the levels. We love to say that this gives a game of chance, but there's still a lot of skill behind it.
Yeah, there is a lot of skill to Mario Kart. It's not just about how well you can perform. It's not just about how well you can drive. It's about how well you can use your items. So, as we got a word from producer, lobbies may change. Yeah. So we'll see if those lobbies are going to be exactly that. But it'll be interesting to see how this all goes out, what these players are going to bring, and how they're going to be bringing their best here in this amazing Mario Kart tournament. As we're getting the groups set up here, we'll be eventually going in here for our final of the 3 group stages.
You know what rule that maybe isn't interesting to me for our viewers joining us and our friends in the crowd there that I didn't realize we were talking about this? It's minus 10 points for if you re-pick a level. I've never had to consider that being a thing in almost any kind of tournament. In any other esport, if you pick the same level again, whether you won, lose, or whatever, there's rarely ever penalizing. So I just think that's a fascinating change of pace. If thank you for making the viewer experience better, guys, because I also agree I'd rather see new and exciting levels. If there's 90, we should be able.
There's 96.
Yeah, there's 96. Surely we can go without repeating a level.
You shouldn't be picking DK Summit every single time.
I don't know. What if you really just like DK Summit?
I mean,
I trained really hard at that one level to be winning at it.
Listen, that means you're a one-trick pony, and that means you don't want to play any other track. Regardless of which, the 10-point penalty has not come in play.
No, it's not going to.
Yet. It probably will not, because you have a bunch of players here who are known for different types of tracks. They want to practice different types of tracks. We saw people practicing earlier today. They were playing multiple different types of tracks. They were playing Athens. They were playing Squeaky Clean Sprint. They were playing these different sort of tracks so they could practice that. So we'll see if they decide to go for that interesting sort of play here with those sort of tracks as we are loading in to the 3rd qualifier series. Again, 4 races. The top 2 move on to the grand finals. The rest move on to a last chance qualifier. And once again, we're seeing very much differences in these track selections.
I think I even see double Wario Stadium, or Waluigi and Wario Stadium. So quite a bit of variety amongst this. Really does show you the lobby.
And we're going to Waluigi Stadium.
Arguably the better of the stadiums. If nothing else, it's slightly more purple, but it is a stadium. It is a track full of twists and turns. It is very tight. It's really a great test and opener for these players to make sure, look, are you drifting properly? Are you hitting your turns? And are you making sure that you aren't leaving yourself susceptible here?
Yeah, and also it is a determiner of how well you can take these cuts. There's also some interesting techniques you can play on this track, and Darky trying to show that as best they can, just taking these tight turns, doing everything possible to try and get up to the front of the pack.
You can here with a stack of bananas in tone, 7th looking for a little bit of an opening, then he just keep the tricks going. Got to take the mud, and maybe wanted to try to hit that a little bit closer, but it did give them a boost as the pack begins to thin down. I see 3 Yoshis up in the front there.
Yeah, also this is the first Peachette I believe we've seen today, so interesting choice. Peachette is the same weight class as Yoshi, so this technically is a meta composition. But meanwhile, at the front is a parade of black Yoshis right now at the front. Welcome to the Black Yoshi Parade, I'd say, as it's just all 3 of them running away with it. Now the blue shell's coming. Those black Yoshis are about to get a lot closer.
Yeah, when I was a young dinosaur, my father told me to go out and win the Waluigi circuit. So it's going to come down to Luckyo here in the front and managing to avoid it, but Darky is going to be the unfortunate victim of that blue shell.
Darky is going to be falling back. Now Luckyo out at the front, and this is that technique I was talking about. You just continually go up and down on this anti-gravity panel and just continually gain speed as you go along. That is a main strat here on Waluigi Stadium, and if you know that strat, you're going to win this race.
I have learned something new today, so I guess that tells you the real true depth of this game. Don't let anybody tell you it's just for little kids playing with their brothers and sisters on the 2nd or 3rd broken controller. But Goji the Yoshi in 3rd here, coming in and trying to push in. That's going to be a lightning to hit it, and the pack has thinned out quite a bit here.
Yep, the pack's starting to thin out. It is, again, those black Yoshis reigning at the front. We'll have to see if these players are going to be able to do it. The closest opponent, is basically a half loop away. Bonnie47 trying to run for their life from the rest of the pack behind them and trying to find any sort of advantage. Toucan is with them, trying to do the exact same. As it's still a close affair for those positions. Jealous, meanwhile, in 9th, not looking good. Has the star, though, to try and get themselves back at the front.
It's tough, especially on these, like we were talking about. If you don't hit those turns right, it's going to hurt, and that will hurt for Darky, who's in second. Luckyo and Goji all fighting in these first. These are 3 of those names that we were like, this is going to be a tough lobby, and you can see it. They are not going to let each other win. There is no safe blood here. Everybody will be playing for those first spots.
And while it is Luckyo and Darky hitting each other, it is indeed Goji getting that first spot, which is crucial because, again, that's the most amount of points you get. Toucan getting 4th as well means they got a good start to try and get themselves into the last chance qualifier. And it's going to be Jealous coming in at 7th. Not the rear of the field yet. Bonnie, 47, is the last person to cross the line in that bullet bill in 10th. But still a pretty strong showing, and we're definitely seeing a divide of the skill levels, it seems a bit.
Oh, I mean, the divide is I played at Nintendo-sponsored events and 2 tier breaks, unfortunately. That's not to say all these players are bad. There's by no means a single bad player here, but that's to say that, there are several players in this that have they understand the game at a different level. That's not to say they can't be beaten, but that's to say that they are playing Mario Kart on a different level, and it is showing here by the constant fight for top 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, definitely. And Darky also coming off of a recent tournament victory over at the Broad Street Blur in Philadelphia, so there's a lot of people, there's a lot of skill on this table. As we take a look at our next track selection, it looks like we're going to be going over to Excite Bike Arena, which is Adult Man's Baby Park.
Truly a man for truly a course of culture, as it were. So, hey, look, I like Excite, but I think it's a decent course. It gives you. I think the other thing about this though is that it's flat. It's a little predictable, right? You kind of know exactly where it is, but it's a little bit more predictable in a lot of ways. You can see it. It's just straight up a big old circle, but it really is going to test these players' ability to maintain their drifts to try to set themselves up for success here. And if you're lucky if you misses a spot like that, that might hurt you, especially in the top 3 when these micro decisions really matter.
As we take the jumps here of the first straightaway with Excite Bike Arena, Goji tries to go for that snipe, will actually get hit by Luckyo's Drag Banana instead. It's difficult to really make a comeback here. Your best chance is if you're able to get a lot of those mushrooms and power items and make your way onto the sidelines. Because yes, you can drive on the grass.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily the best idea. It's not, as is a tradition in Mario Kart, it's better to stay on the course than off. But Jealous over here back in 7th still fighting. They should get something a little better than those mushrooms pretty quickly, I think.
This is the biggest problem with Excite Bike. You can see it there on Luckyo's. Their green shells just keep going straight. They never end. Yeah. They will never hit a wall because they're just going to keep going straight down the lanes. It's like rolling a bowling ball down a 500-yard bowling lane. It's just going to keep going. It's never going to stop, and you just have to be worried about it, just like Darky has to be worried about this blue shell.
It's not going to throw him off too much because it is just the top 2 that just separate the pack. It gives him a little bit of an distance from Luckyo, who's leading currently right now. But Luckyo, I was going to say, has a bit of a safety net, and that net is now gone as they are mini and in the front of the pack with nothing to help them.
That lightning is going to play a factor here. Jealous currently trying to catch up in 9th place. We'll see if they're going to be able to do exactly that, especially with these power items that you get at the back of the pack. They get a star, which is good for multiple different reasons, so we'll see if they're going to be able to try and make advantage here as the final lap begins here on Excite Bike, and once again, we're seeing a divide of the Black Yoshis in front.
Briggs is going to get the bullet bill and try to give himself a little bit of spot to contest. They will make it in towards the leaders are in front of sight, and suddenly Cyrex is in 4th in a contention spot versus this, and Toucan now fighting in for the spot as well. Some new faces showing up in the last minute.
How about Toucan making their way up? They lose that red shell with the dragon. Goji tries to go for the shortcut, but the lightning bolt silences their efforts. Goji tried so hard. The mushroom was in their hand. It was in their sights, but they couldn't make it work. Meanwhile, Darky off the sidelines. A star and a mushroom to go all the way up through the sidelines and take away second from Toucan.
Wow, that is Mario Kart in its purest form. Toucan looked very clean to take that, but Darky holding on to that star and surviving after the lightning is just huge. You cannot predict those things. All you can do is sit back, try to hold those items for the right moment, and go from there. So, I mean, it does give them a little bit of a boost, but it's tough. Once you get into those top 3 spots and, you start to see those double-digit points start falling off, it becomes a bit harder to really maintain the top 4 position.
Yeah, those top 4 positions are difficult, especially when you get those late items like that lightning ball. Goji was in a position to get 2nd place away. Lightning bolt comes, mushroom taken away, and now you have to try and salvage a good finish out of it. I believe they were still able to salvage a 4th place, but it's brutal. It's brutal in the worst situations here as we're getting ready to start our 3rd race of this set. And again, very interesting track selections all across the board, but we're going to be going over to DK Mountain, and if there's any track to show the skill of these players, it's this one.
Yeah, DK Mountain is one of those ones, I guess, love it or hate it when you look at how twisty-turny and how much it really is going to test. This is going to be one of those ones where your drifting is really important. It really shows you, have you allotted your stats right? Are you keeping your drift going? It should also enable a lot of these high-end players to keep their boosts going.
It's also a great place for shortcuts. Unfortunately for Crykes, this is also a good place to burn out your engine, as they are unfortunately set back to the back of the pack. But this is another one of those tracks where if you're at the back, you can gain an advantage over the rest of the field as everyone's shooting up toward that angry mountain in the distance. It's all going to be determined of which one's going to be able to take the best shortcuts of them all, because there are plenty of them here, and you very well might see most of them here on this first lap.
I guess it depends who we follow here, because again, if you don't know it, then you're not going to be able to take it. But, I mean, considering we still have not seen much of a separation of the fact that Red Shell will hit, and Toucan going to sneak in, get a little bit of burst, they'll have to take out and fight through the barrel. This is where those mushrooms really kind of struggle, though, because if you're boosting too quickly, if you aren't able to control your cart or your buggy, whatever you got, you'll do that.
Yeah, we're just going to be going straight off into the ditch there. Not many players, it seems, outside of the top 3 maybe, took one of the most biggest shortcuts here on this track, as Jealous catching their way up to 5th place right now to begin lap number 2.
Yeah,
again, still early in a track where being in the back in favor.
Yeah, but I mean, look at, again, we're sitting 3rd place, just hit that cannon up, and we're still waiting. There's finally our 4th place. So again, these players, like you said, if you just know the shortcuts, if you just kind of know your routines, this is what separates those good players from the greats.
And we have a lightning bolt in play, and Bonnie's going to be shooting it immediately. Everyone caught inside of that one, no one able to dodge. Darky, meanwhile, is still leading here, trying to get the advantage, has double red shells ready for Luckyo as they set up for this amazing gap cut.
Ooh.
Takes the clips a little bit on the barrier, but is able to get their wheels free, and is still holding on to this 2nd place here. Do they go for the aggressive play onto Luckyo?
Thinking about it, going to try to get a little bit of boost on this corner, and that'll have to do for now. 2 red shells might just fire one off, but he knows that the cannon's there, so it's no point. It's going to have to wait for now.
Luckyo currently sitting in 1st place, banana and coin in pocket, waiting for the opportunity. They're going to drop the banana at the double box. Darky, meanwhile, going to be sacrificing their position. Going to be going back for Goji, who has triple reds in front of them. Now has triple mushrooms. Going to be trying to take these corners as tight as possible here and try and pass Goji here. Toucan in 4th, trying to catch up with that golden mushroom, as this Luckyo taking that gap cut yet again and is currently running away with it. Luckyo all the way to the front and all the way to the bank with a victory.
I mean, again, this is kind of what we expected. When names like this show up in your lobby, it's hard not to look at them and go, "This is probably someone I'm going to be stuck up against." And Jealous, unfortunately, taking that hit, falling into a little bit deeper into 6. I mean that on base 3 here, we are going to start to see and have a pretty good idea of who is clearing those first 4 spots. One of them probably going to have to go to the play-in, which means this play-in just got infinitely more dangerous.
Yeah, definitely. It is going to be dangerous, especially with those top 3 Black Yoshis battling it out the top. Jealous, unfortunately, race ended because you were too far behind, probably because Luckyo was taking that cut every single lap. But you can see right there the points tallying up. Luckyo, Darky, and Goji, 8 points separate all 3 of those players from 1st to 3rd.
I mean, do we really expect that? Like, we expect anything less? Because those are all super good players. You don't make it to those Nintendo-sponsored events and not be good at the children's racing game, right? Like, that's just how this works.
You couldn't have put it better. I couldn't have put it better myself there, Soav, as we're now getting ready for the final race of this set. And we have a baby park on the track selection.
Apparently, they did not hear your no baby park stance, but
we have 2 baby parks on the track selection. That's Goji picking one of them. I'm calling them out. That's Bonnie and Goji that are picking the baby parks here on this track selection.
Well, and we're going. The collective groan from all of the production staff, except for me. I don't really care. Baby Park's perfectly fine. It's a little bit chaotic. It's small. It's quick. Yeah, look, I'm unfazed by this. I like amusement parks. What, do y'all hate roller coasters or something? I don't get it.
I mean, I like roller coasters, but I don't like driving the equivalent of a NASCAR track with items on it. As we start here on the final race of the qualifiers, we just couldn't get through the qualifiers without going to the infamous Baby Park, where you could put on a blindfold and somehow still end up first. Jealous currently demonstrating that as they're currently in 1st place, but are going to get hit by a red shell here early.
Yeah, well, that's the chaotic nature, right? If you are one of those players that's on the bubble of making it, if this only works in your favor. You know what? There might be a gentleman's agreement to not play Steve and Smash, but I don't know that there's one here for Mario Kart. So I think this is a smart call for anybody who's on that bubble and needs the points to get in.
Luckyo might be the smartest person in the lobby right now, taking a back approach. Currently he's waiting in the back for the perfect opportunity to come back up to the front. And Darky with the star goes all the way up to first place. Red Shell going to be trailing him, but is going to run straight into that invincibility item. Jealous throwing fireballs all over the place, throwing their mixtapes, trying to get anybody, but unfortunately unable to land it. As now we are approaching that. We are already at the halfway mark, entering lap number 6. Only 2 laps remain across this crazy oval.
I mean, that's the best it's going to be, right? And Darky's still managing the lead, but there's still so many items. There's not really escaping much. Did get hit by the Bullet Bill. Doesn't look like it's going to affect too much of their positioning,
but the blue shell! That's going to affect their positioning heavily. Crikes is going to come up as well. They get hit by a green shell. It's Luckyo trying to steal it away, and that's exactly what they'll do. Luckyo takes the victory, and Darky all the way back to 5th. That might have just put their chances of the grand final slot in jeopardy.
Look, I'm here for exciting wildcard and wildcard play, and if that means we have to go to Baby Park multiple times, I have no complaints. But it does mean that Luckyo and Darky will go on. Goji and I believe that was Toucan making that 4th spot.
1 point.
Wow.
1 point between Darky and Goji
Wow.
to get into that. 3 points separating Toucan and Goji from that 5th position.
That is insane. 42 and 41 for points. That is just dang close. And we have Baby Park to thank for that. So I'm just saying, I think it was a great successive choice.
Look, I hate Baby Park.
I know you do. Look, as a filthy casual, I see nothing wrong with it. Yeah, see, they love me for being a filthy casual.
Anyway, now that the qualifiers are done,
Yeah.
we have now made our way. We have now selected 6 of our grand finalists, but we still need 2 more, and that is where the last chance qualifier comes into play.
Yep. We're going to take our 3rd and 4th places from our previous rounds. We're going to shove them in for 1 more qualifier, and we're going to see how they do. And I think the problem with this upcoming qualifier is just, oh boy, when you look at Goji barely making it in, that is a tough person because they will definitely do well in this last chance qualifier. There are some players that just missed out that make it infinitely harder to go into.
Yeah, it is. The competition is about to get fired up here. As we take a look at the points for lobby number 3, again, Luckyo and Darky making their way into the grand finals. Goji by 1 point misses out. If Darky just fell 1 more position, Goji would be the one celebrating right now. Darky would be the one having to go to that last chance qualifier. But still pretty close across the board. Jealous with that second
Jealous
place.
At 30, 31 and 34. That's still very close. Again, it changed the difference. The second place could have, a first place could have even put them to the top, but unfortunately it's next year.
All right, and it seems like we are finally getting the second chance qualifier lobbies to start up here. So we'll see as we go into the second chance. You see the 7 players: Crixus, Crunchy Mage, Stoat, Jealous, Kaioya, Toucan, and Awoken to start off our second chance. And this is going to be an interesting match indeed.
Yeah, this is a pretty tough lobby here coming into this because we saw Awoken in that first round really kind of just, fighting neck and neck for one of those first spots. And Toucan, even in this last set, looked very, very good. There's a lot of players that can still make a game. If lobby number 2 was that initial lucky lobby because everybody made it through to a next level, this is still a fairly playable level. But it's going to come down to which of those players, learned and in those last couple minutes watching the pros go at it.
And here's the interesting part, Solav.
What do you got?
1 person from this lobby goes on to finals. 1.
Only 1.
1 person. We saw how much talent is on that lineup. You've got Awoken, who was very good in that first qualifier. You have Kaioya, who was also in that first qualifier, had some potential. Toucan, who just got 4th in that last qualifier. All of them are going to be facing off against each other, but only 1 person can go on to the grand finals. And that's where it gets interesting.
4 more rounds, which means every single first place becomes infinitely more important. The higher you go, you cannot afford to slip up. Every single first place matters now. And, when you talk about pressure, you want to talk about feeling that weight. I mean, you took a lot of pressure to get here, but this is a very strap down and be ready moment for all these players.
Yeah, it is definitely strap down, get yourself together and get in the moment here, because if you are unable to win this qualifier, game over. No finals for you.
Next year. Yeah. It's going to be a long
Come
year.
Come back next year. Come back even next week to another Mario Kart tournament, because these can happen weekly if so please. But it's all on the line here. It is all for the marbles as we're getting everything set up. Also, big shout out to Makeler there, helping us with all of the production, helping get everything sorted here on the stream so that we can have such an amazing production, getting all these players situated and comfortable here in the PlayEX arena. So, but still, it's going to be interesting to see how this all tallies up here, because everything is on the line.
When you look at the names that have already made it through, Mankalor made it through. We were looking at Luckyo and Darky, who just are phenomenal players. It's hard not to look at this talent pool and feel intimidated. But when you look at the wider picture of Mario Kart as an esport, you know it yourself. There's still plenty of different options. And here's a look at our finals team right now: Anime Yoshi, Mankalor, Nina Hart, OG MVP, Luckyo, and Darky. This is I'm scared. I don't play Mario Kart competitively, but from what I've seen, this lobby is terrifying. This feels like we should have a Nintendo sponsorship in this lobby right now.
Yeah, definitely. There are a lot of strong players there who have been to Nintendo tournaments. They've been able to perform on the biggest stage of them all, especially with Luckyo, Darky, and Mankalor all in that room right now. Anything can happen, but it seems like it's going to be a difficult feat for those players to get themselves in the best situation, as we're currently waiting for everybody to get sorted. We have Sloat currently making sure they get the right combination, making sure they can get everything situated. Once they're situated, we'll be getting into the races here, and we'll see which of these 7 players is going on to the grand finals match.
And we had talked about it. Every decision in this game matters. Who do you pick? What is your glider? What tires are you using? Even down to the weight class of your driver makes so much of a difference. There are so many variables for all of these players to kind of manipulate and play with that becomes difficult to really keep track of it all. If you're playing at home, you're not just a little bit thrown off by the, I'm thrown off by the 8 screen as well as you are. So, but we're all making it through. We're all learning, and we're all improving in the kart game.
As we load in here to what will be the first of 2 last chance qualifiers here today. We'll see what these people are going to try to select for their tracks. Again, it can all be determined on what track you want to try to pick, if it's going to be in your favor. And I already see Excite Bike potentially getting picked here. Crykes currently trying to decide. Oh, come on, my guy. It's race number 1!
It's only one pick. It's only one pick. It's fine. Look, there is a strategic. I mean, we're going to go on the boat anyways, but there is a strategic advantage to it. But lucky for you, we don't have to worry about it right now.
As our producer is currently shaming Crykes from across the area, we load into
Crykes,
Daisy
you do
Cruiser.
your thing. I believe in you. That was a great pick.
Oh my God, we load into Daisy Cruiser here, where this track can be all over the place.
Yeah, there is so many different paths to take here. Making sure that you know what you're getting into and how you're running it is just, you can get lost here, but you have to make sure you're on the right path. And this is where it comes down to knowing. This is almost a knowledge check of what are you doing at this level.
Crykes is currently trying to take those drifts here. I see a Bowser Jr. on the stage. I respect your decision, as we see Stoa trying to make their way up to the top right now, getting knocked into a dining table, unfortunately, but still trying to make their way up. And no surprise to see Awoken is the one at the top right now here, Soaf.
Yeah, Awoken, narrowly missed out in the first run, and it doesn't surprise me to see them here, but, they are starting to pull away. You can see them drifting very, very efficiently here and making sure these tight turns and they're catching every trick. This is efficient playing. This is what it looks like to get into the last chance.
And 2K, meanwhile, trailing right behind them here on this Peachette. Back spamming that green, keeping everyone at bay, and it did catch on to Kayoya, I believe, from the back, so definitely not the best situation if you are Kayoya as this lightning bolt comes, but Toucan is the one that probably benefits. Actually, no, there is someone who benefits better from it. Jealous, actually, I believe, got the lightning dodge, so they are going to be starting to make their way up to the pack, currently in 8th place.
That is a huge comeuppance, but they have to use the time now to capitalize on it, and unfortunately, just playing a little bit of bumper cars for now. Still in 8th, they will get the benefit of having those items, but it is a tough place to be in.
Final lap here on Daisy Cruiser. It still is Awoken leading the field. Toucan behind him. Crisis currently in third, trying to catch up and get as much points as possible. Again, only the top one makes it out of this round at the end of 4 races, and anyone can be that number 1, especially when the blue shell is in play. Awoken has to be prepared for that, knowing that their fate of the lead might be in danger. Toucan's going to try to take advantage of it, but that blue shell seems to not have hit Awoken. As now Toucan trying to catch up. Look, it's Kayoya coming up to the top. Going to be trying to take that position. Can Toucan pass him with the bullet bill? Ooh. Yes, they can. What a move from Toucan to take that lead away with the bullet bill and puts themselves in a pretty strong position.
That's a lucky comeuppance there to kind of catch that bullet bill, especially in as close as 2, 3, and 4 like that. So you'll have to work for now, and unfortunately, we'll see 3 of our top. We'll see Awoken and Toucan, who are strong competitors in their own individual pools, still doing very well, but we can only bring 1 through here.
Also, as an update, unfortunately, no one was actually playing Bowser Jr. That was a CPU.
I'm sorry.
They finished 5th.
I'm sorry.
Which means they played better. They finished 5th, which means they finished better than 3 of our competitors. So, yeah. Anyway, heading into our second race here, seeing the diverse track selection yet again. And it's interesting to see how these strategies are going to develop as the racing goes on. Do you want to try to stick with a track that's more front-heavy, or do you want to try to go for one that's more permanent for people in the back? We'll have to see as we head over to Music Park, which is really a mix of the two.
Yeah, you're going to get a little bit of everything here. So there's a lot of different pathing, but there's a lot of different spots for jumps to make sure you can get a little bit of those shortcuts. There's a little bit of spacing and a little bit of routing. So a good little all-around check for all of these karters here.
As we're about to start here on Music Park, we'll see which of these players is going to be able to get the best advantage of them all here. Again, we've mentioned it so many times, but the first place player at the end of this GP moves on to the grand finals. So it's all going to come down to which player can make the most of it in this situation. Crisis currently holding on to that mushroom, and chaos happening in front of him as Awoken is yet again the one running out to the front.
I mean, Awoken using that Yoshi meta build as you were talking about it. It's it's a combination of just knowing what you want to be doing and it working in your favor in a lot of ways. Kyoya is going to hang in there second and third with those banana peels. Does manage to catch someone with it, so they'll have to go onto that into the
Oh yeah, definitely going to be an interesting one to watch with that second place performance thus far. Recall they were able to get second place last round. Actually, no, they got third place last race, so they are definitely a formidable foe. They do block that red shell with one of their triple bananas. Going to be letting loose of the third one so they can get another item, but the lightning bolt comes into play from Crisis, who's now moving up to the top of the pack.
And it's still not quite running away. I say that, but Awoken is starting to lead a bit. That lightning will come through, and it's going to slow up a majority of them, but it doesn't really take much from our leader.
Yeah, it's rare to see 2 lightning bolts go off at the same time. That means someone must have dodged with a lightning bolt in hand. Jealous going to be using the star here. Not play with fire, trying to see if they can get through those piranha plants. It's going to be getting into Crisis as well, slowing down that Tanuki Mario, but a little bit too far off the edge of the map. But you know what's not too far? The blue shell.
It's going to do something, but the question is even if Awoken gets hit, does it really do anything? Does it really do much besides slow him up a little bit? And I think they sense the bomb is coming. So it's probably just going to be
Oh my god. Double bombs is an interesting, rare anomaly that you can get in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but it is possible, especially if you are in first place. Awoken, however, it loses one of them, does block the red shell with the second, but still is trying to bring themselves back up into the field. Stodes in 6th place, triple mushrooms in hand, trying to make use of them to try and get up to the front here, but it's still Awoken up front. Kyoya, however, is catching up in that Rosalina. Ooh, and the lightning bolt is going to start shaking up the field, and someone actually got a lightning dodge. 2 people, Crisis and Jealous, are making their way up in those bullet bills.
I mean, that is a huge comeuppance from them. Yet another blue shell is coming, but again, the leader's already crossed the line, so it's going to go for
Kyoya. They get hit by it, the bomb in hand. They have to try and drop it in the middle to try and keep everyone back. It's going to hit Bowser Jr. The back spam does not hit Crisis, and they actually get past. That's Toucan who passed him in the bullet bill.
Wow, again with those bullet bill saves are just impressive.
Toucan, 2 for 2 on passing on the last lap with a bullet bill. That is insane here, because that is a clutch moment that you need to try and keep under your radar, because that's just clutch Mario Kart. You have to be clutch in those situations. Toucan has proven to be the clutchest of them all.
I mean, Toucan had a great run in Smash earlier this afternoon. They are proving to make themselves a force here. The problem is, like you said in previous, you only take one. So you can only clutch so many times, and unless you're clutching first place consistently, it doesn't really do you a lot of good here, Bowsy.
Yeah, right now, Awoken seems to be the force to be reckoned with here. And if Awoken just keeps up this performance, it's going to be difficult for anybody to try and catch them up. Almost near impossible if the points play into Awoken's favor. But it's all going to come down to if they can hold on to this lead for yet another race, as we're about to load in to our third race. I see 2 SNES Rainbow Roads on the track selector, but we're not going to be going to any of those because it's time for TikTok Clock.
TikTok Clock is something. I mean, that's a different change of pace anyways. And, you know, again, a few more physical obstacles to manage, making sure you can get your timing right. Shouldn't be a problem for most of these players, but it is still something you have to be aware of. You have to make sure you get those things. And now you have to manage, you know, your pathing, making sure you're hitting all of your conveyor belts correctly, too.
It's all going to come down to if you can manage the TikTok Clock, manage the time, get yourself in a good position at the right time. Start the third race of this. We've already hit the halfway point of this Grand Prix, and Toucan is trying to get any sort of advantage. Gonna throw the red shell out, and it's actually gonna go for Awoken, but there is defense there for our leader of this pack.
That is saying that early that was a good advantage to try to take. It's going to pop in a second. The mushrooms are going to have to be for now. Has a red shell, but you know it's not worth popping. You can't quite see if there's defense up for Awoken, but I don't think it's going to happen. They'll have to use their own defensively instead.
Still trying to make their way up. Has the red shell. Awoken in front of them. Do they unleash it or do they try to go for the defensive play? I mean, when Awoken is first in points right now by over 8 points, kind of have to go for the aggressive play, but they're waiting for the perfect opportunity. Awoken, 2 defensive items is first is extremely difficult to get, especially when you consistently get coins, and they're making it work. They're getting these defensive items, and they're making the most of it.
We'll swap it out for the double, and this is probably going to be a little bit better. They'll have 1 defensive plus a coin now. They are maxed out at 10, so they're in the best position they could be in, but you can't defend yourself against that blue shell.
No, there's only 1 item that can defend you against that. Unfortunately, Awoken does not have it. Jealous trying to make their way up to the pack, has the star and the bullet bill. Going to be waiting, it seems, to use this bullet bill at the right opportune time. Keep that invisibility frames lasting as long as possible in the event that there happens to be a lightning bolt out on the field, but unfortunately they will not be able to call upon the god of Zeus for this situation as we enter the final lap of TikTok Clock. It still is actually no, Awoken no longer in the lead. It's the Rosalina of Kayoya currently leading, but can Awoken catch back up and try to take it away?
So that's sneaking into that third spot. Still a chance for them to sneak in and get some points, especially with that blue shell coming around. It could hit both those first 2 spots if they play this right.
Oh,
the Thunder instead.
Awoken knows that Kayoya was going to back up, and Kayoya trying to stay alive. The gear's not in their favor. They're going all the way back to third after that, and Awoken now running away with the lead, trying to keep themselves safe. They're putting themselves in such a good position to get this entire GP under their belts. It's Awoken across the line first. Crunchy Mega is actually going to cross the line second, and those top 2 contenders that were doing so well all falling back through the pack.
Oh, that is so tragic to get caught like that, but that is Mario Kart after all, and I mean, oh man, you can't, unfortunately, just can't do much about that. We do have our winner. It is going to be Awoken going out from this pool, and a great showing from all of our last chance contenders, but Awoken definitely just stood out. I think that was at least 3 to 4 of the... That was at least like 3. They won at least 3. Did they win all 4?
They won 3 races. We still have 1 more race to go, but if my math is correct,
anybody can catch.
There is only 1 person who can catch them. It's Kayoya, and it's only if Kayoya wins the race and Awoken finishes last.
I'm a betting person, but I'm not willing to take those odds. Those are not good odds, but I guess maybe the map will depend on whether that goes. It'll be Toad Harbor again, so I don't think that's going to happen. If we were on maybe one of those booze castles, I could be like, all right, there's a slim chance for that, but not in this case. 45 for Awoken, and yeah, OHC sitting at 32. It's pretty locked in right now over there for Awoken, who has been racing phenomenally all day.
It looks done and dusted here. Awoken only needs to finish 11th or better to secure, at the very best, a tie, but they don't want to go for that. They want to go for the perfect closer chance qualifier, and Toucan is going to be taking a drink because of it.
They'll back up for the items. That's the consolation prize there, but Jealous still fighting in there. You know, you'd like to at least, even if you can't get that slot, you'd like to at least make a good showing in this last chance qualifier. Put yourself out there. Always cart your best. And Kiyoya has looking. Maybe they can pass Awoken here, but I don't think Awoken's going to hit that dreaded 12th place like you were saying.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a miracle right now if Awoken even gets out of first, as Kayoya just trying to catch up, gets hit by the trolley. does triple red shells, though, so they have the potential to really take that advantage over Awoken. One of those red shells, I believe, hit the trolley. The second one gets eaten up by Piranha Plant, and the third one's going to be used on Toucan. So all of those red shells going to waste, and the lead from Awoken is now half of a track.
Kyoya having a bad time out there, unfortunately, as they'll get past a little bit. Crunchy Mage now leading ahead of them with Toadette in tow, looking to try to take that higher path. I mean, Kyoya can likely get it. Now with the Piranha Plant of their own, they just have to get in a position. You have to see people if you're going to take advantage of it.
Using the Piranha Plant and going up on the ramp, trying to find that perfect opportunity to take advantage. Does get that bite onto the Toadette, but looks like it was not registered on their screen. Nonetheless, Kyoya has a star in hand. Crunchy Mage has one as well. It could come down to the shocks here. If a shock comes in play and Awoken's not ready for it, anything can happen as they have begun the final lap. It is, again, a full straightaway difference between second and first right now. But Kyoya has this bullet bill. That is an easy front ticket to the front. When are they going to use it? And is it going to be at the right time? They use it on the bridge.
Let's see how quick it closes the gap, because it's going to have to do something. They'll get a star on that second item, but I don't even know that that's enough. Yeah, it barely closed the gap at all. Awoken is just running away like a trolley without brakes here.
A runaway trolley is Awoken right now as they make their way down the final hill. Kyoya trying to close the gap, knowing that the win could be in their sights, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen as Awoken runs into the wall. It's celebration, a clean 4 for 4 for Awoken to move on to the grand finals.
That is a statement to come out of a last chance bracket like that, to really come out, win all 4, and just say, look, I didn't make it the first time. I am unhappy. I demand, nay, I should be there. That spot is rightfully mine. So kudos to Awoken. We'll see them in the finals, and condolences to the rest of the players. They put in a good effort, but unfortunately only one from this pool could go on.
Yeah, definitely, and it definitely seems like we got the best of this last chance qualifier to move on, as Awoken will be finding themselves in the grand finals for the PlayEX Arena Mario Kart 8 Deluxe tournament here at GameACon East 2024. But what an effort from a lot of those players. Kyoya does come home second, and Toucan, after finishing second in the Smash Bros. Tournament, comes third in that last chance qualifier. So still, pretty strong performance from all these players.
I mean, hey, if you're good at, they say if you're good at one Nintendo game, you could probably do well at the rest of them. So kudos to them. They'll unfortunately join our audience in the crowd. And I mean, we still got one more last chance pool, is my understanding. So, I mean, there's still a lot to play for here. There's still plenty more matches to come up. We are going to see that final lobby shortly, but I mean, that final lobby is just stacked to the brim. I can't imagine trying to play into that.
Yeah, that final lobby is going to be very difficult. A lot of strong contenders in that lobby. But before we can get there, we still have one more last chance qualifier to go. So we'll see who's going to be joining the currently 7 locked-in players to make it an even 8. As we take a look at the standings, again, Awoken, 60 points, a perfect 4 and 4, 15 points in every single one, running away from the rest of the competition.
Everybody else underneath that, though, did manage to kind of put in a decent spot. And here's your second chance in number 2, LPS in the first slot, Bonnie in the second, Jinja in the second one, Goji the Yoshi, and Yadabai in that 5th spot. It's a much smaller group, but I mean, this is still a very dangerous group. Goji barely missed out from their group going forward. And you have to assume they are favored from what we've seen going into this.
And we can't forget, especially in that first qualifier, yes, Anamiyashi won 3 of the 4 races. The 4th one went to Jinja. So for all we know, Jinja and Goji could be the 2 to try and duke it out here. Yada could also be in consideration for contention. So we'll see if they're going to be able to try and make it work in their favor.
Yeah, again, similar to that second lobby, it's, 5 is a smaller number, so there's a lot fewer variables. You have a lot more NPCs kind of floating around. It doesn't make it any easier, but it does mean that, every single hit is a lot more punishing, because the further you fall behind, even if there's just space between, even if there's NPC space between you and the next human, it hurts your score. And considering the score is the most important thing, and you can't really afford to drop it here, it makes every single space that much more important in a smaller lobby.
And everything matters here if you are trying to fight for that top spot. So it's going to be interesting to see which of these players is going to be doing exactly that, which one is going to be coming out at the end of the day. And I mean, and again, it could come down to 1 point. We saw that happen in our third and final qualifier before these last chance qualifiers. 1 point determined who was moving on and who was going home.
1 point is all it takes, but we still have one more qualifier, and we'll only take one person from it. It's going to be another 4 of a 150cc races to find out who that is. And I will say they have quite a lot to follow up on from the side of Awoken, who very handedly won that. So here's our look at our finals right now. Anime Yashi, Mankalor, Nina Hart, OG MVP, Lucky O'Darky, and Awoken will join. Awoken will join in for the previous 6. One more spot remains, and I mean, this is a dangerous lobby, Bowsy. That is a I would hate to roll up into that in my online games.
I am not envious of the people that have to play in that lobby right now, because it is, or that lobby after this, because it is a dangerous lobby indeed. You do not want to be in that situation. So it's going to be interesting to see how these players are going to adapt as we're getting ready to load in to the final lobby here of the last chance qualifiers. Only 4 people because LPS has gone missing, unfortunately, but still we'll see if these players are going to be able to have what it takes to make it to the top.
That's all right. Look, we started with 19. We lose a few along the way. Again, it's tough. This was a very difficult lobby from the top to bottom. Still trying to see. We'll send out the search party briefly, but it's still a very difficult set of 19 to play through when you look at the quality of players. You know, I had said it earlier. This is not any of these players. I would not want to have rolled up into them in an online game. This is, to play and lose here, nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah, 100%, as we're about to get ready to start here in our final qualifier. Again, last chance qualifier winner of this moves on to the grand finals to join that illustrious list of 7 players currently to make it 8 for our grand finals matchup here in the PlayEX Arena Mario Kart 8 Deluxe free-for-all tournament. As we're loading in here, we have the players choosing their tracks, and already an interesting sort of some interesting track selections to start off.
And lucky for you, there's no baby bark, so we don't have to worry about any more
God,
meltdowns from the side. We don't have to worry about any meltdowns from production, so it's all good so far. It's only the 4, and one of them chose the full random. That's a bold statement to make.
Yeah, the full random. Just throw caution to the wind. Let the game decide my fate.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting pick indeed, but we'll have to see if it's going to work out as we load in to Athens here. This was a track that Awoken was trying to pick a lot in that last GP, but they get it when they're not playing.
Unfortunately for them, they will not see it. Maybe we'll see it in the full finals group, but for now, it'll have to be the point as Jinja is going to be leading on that that red Ryoshi, leading the meta standard here going into this first tournament. It's going to be tough in Athens. A lot of jumps, a lot of turns, and a lot of tricky things you can maneuver across.
Yeah, definitely. As you see Jinja taking that little shortcut there on the top of that rock. Now heading into the Theater of Dionysus, riding around that corner, and still maintaining a pretty good lead so far. But right behind them is Goji the Yoshi, who speeds right past him with the mushroom, and heading into the Carthagic Module and Lysocrates already has a very good lead.
The trademark Black Yoshi just making sure they see behind him. They hit the red shell, so a great shot from that, and they are going into the protected. I mean, Goji in that last heat of theirs looks very strong, contended for a lot of those first places. They haven't quite separated from the pack yet, but you can see they know how to make every single inch count.
Yeah, they are taking every corner as tight as they can, making all of these moves to just continually separate themselves from the rest of the pack, which could come back to bite them if the situation is not in their favor. Yottabyte currently in second place now. We didn't talk about their name a lot in that first qualifier, but they were also in contention for a little bit of it, so they very well could make an upset statement here, trying to get up to Goji up in first place. A single red shell to their name. Ginja currently third now. Triple mushrooms and a red shell as the final lap begins here on Athens, but it's Goji who's currently running away with it.
Yeah, now finally putting some space between them. And again, that's those kind of micro decisions, just acknowledgments of, look, I know the shortcuts, I know where I can cut my edges, and I know where I can keep it safe. And Goji's now playing it super safe as they have the lead. Let's not push, let's not do anything insane. Let's just run the course like we know it, and let's just profit from it.
Goji trying to do exactly that as they make their way up of Areopagus Hill. It's Jinja starting to catch up behind them with the mushrooms in tow. Will they be able to make a comeback here as they approach the Propylaea? It's Goji, however, all the way at the top. The lightning bolt comes, but it might have been too little too late to stop Goji as they're going to be crossing the line in first place to start off this GP. Jinja not too far behind. No one to contest them as they're going to be claiming a second place.
It's hard to say I'm surprised when you're looking at who's left in the lobby because, I mean, Goji was just a phenomenal. It's hard when you're in a very stacked lobby like that and you get shoved down. It's hard not to look at them and say, yeah, no, if this was, first 3 go on, then no question. It's very, very clear that Goji knows what they're doing, knows how to play, and has a deeper understanding of this game by that first place.
Definitely a strong showing there from Goji the Yoshi. As now we're heading into the second race here momentarily. We already see some more interesting picks. Big Blue on the docket for one, and Daisy Cruiser yet again.
I mean, everybody has their familiar levels, the things we know, and it's very clear that some of them, we're starting to see them again, and we'll see the Wario pop up as well. So, I mean, everybody has their peculiars, but it's definitely easy to see what ones some of these players prefer.
And it's going to be Goji's pick of Daisy Cruiser here to begin race number 2. So we just saw this race earlier, and Awoken was the one that ran away with it. So we'll see if Goji is going to be able to do the exact same thing.
Well, I see a bunch of teddy bears up in the front and several Yoshis. So this must mean we've done it. We've hit the meta here, Bowsy. So I mean, again, it's still very easy to sit and say like this is going to be a tough track for these guys. You do have to know your pathing, like I said prior, but I think the harder part for these guys is going to be, can you make sure your shots hit? Can you make sure you land your snipes? Or make sure your turtle shows don't go astray?
This is going to be Jinja currently leading the field, but Goji right behind them there in that black Yoshi as they go through the dining hall of this cruise ship. And you already see that advantage that Goji is able to get. Even though both of these players have very little coins to their name, they are both battling it out back and forth, blow for blow, but Goji is the one that's going to be hitting the first right hook of this with that red shell, throwing it right at Ginja and already taking away that lead.
Had the coin, didn't quite have anything to defend with, so that's the unfortunate thing. But he switched over to the Birdo. Okay, a different change of look anyways from anything else. Manages to catch one on the way out, which means they will have the chance to fight up here versus Goji. Banana is not going to do too much, so we'll have to use it for defense for now.
Yep, it's Giannis just trying to catch up. Bonnie, meanwhile, in the back, and you see that Computer King Boo launching the blue shell forward as Goji is going to be the one who's going to be caught off by that. Tries to throw the banana, goes for the banana with the super horn, and a clutch pick, picks up the super horn and blocks the blue shell, blocks the red shell with the wall as well. Goji with the clutch plays.
You're gonna tell me this man's not blessed, gets the items he needed in the last second? I mean, if there's ever a sign for somebody to go on that alone, that has to be it. But still has quite a lead. I say that, but immediately gets pushed. That's gonna catch everybody.
Yep, as Jinja falls back, Yottabyte now in second place. This Birdo might be working to their favor. Double red shells. Can they catch up to Goji, who is leading this race? Jinja behind them with the star power up and the lightning strike. Jinja gets the dodge. That could be crucial as Jinja now catching up toward Goji. All of that power that Goji got. The luck runs out, and it's Ginja taking Daisy Cruiser away.
Ooh, I might have spoken too soon here, Bowsy. I thought this was going to be Goji just running away with it, but Ginja has absolutely decided that I am going to be wrong here, and kudos to them for it. Boney going to be bringing it at the end in 10th is unfortunately just the end of it. But, man, we got a game on our hands now.
As a fellow friend of mine once said.
27? 27.
Ooh, 27 between the top two. Definitely a very close matchup, but I was going to say, as the wise words of an old Mario Kart friend of mine, bam, shock dodge.
Powerful. They should put it in mountains. Surely it would echo through the ages. But I mean, again, you want to talk about? I think what they let me translate that for everybody else that's listening. Incredibly talented play and lucky decisions, and sometimes things out of your control are how you succeed in Mario Kart.
Goji, meanwhile, now gets their second track pick of this round, gets Waluigi Pinball in their favor here. So we'll see if Goji's going to try to make a comeback on this after losing Daisy Cruiser to what was just very bad luck.
Yeah, that's just unfortunate. We call that a bad break in the business. So, but considering how close this is, and this is going to be one of those cases. If someone happens to fall out of that top 4, this could be a lights out moment where we're going to see. So really, it's going to come down to Goji and Jinja. Any of them falls out super low by the end of this, this is basically going to cement the end.
As the Waluigi computer already taking a dominant stride on their own track. Jinja dodging a bullet there, not getting dragged by that green shell from Waluigi. Has to take the turn wide because of this pinball intercepting their lines, and Goji takes that as an opportunity to start running away from the rest of the pack and taking this advantage in their favor. Ooh. And then you get hit by the second pinball on the circuit. You hate to see it.
Yeah, you can't always calculate those things, but you can try to time around it, and Goji now in the lead here. Picks up a double stack, and I mean, we'll never know what they got. Yoda Bite just behind them. Horn is not really as aggressive as you'd like it, but you'll hold on to it for now. That mushroom just to keep it back. I mean, it's just going to be playing for the space right now. You can't afford to let Goji go that far ahead of you, though.
If Goji has to drop out because of a blue shell, Yada has the tools to dodge two of them right now if they can perform it. But as I say that, the lightning strike comes and it removes my entire point, but it also removes any defense Goji once had. So now they're going to be facing a little bit of pressure here up against these two people behind them.
The good thing for Goji is that they still maintain a bit of a lead, so Yada and Ginja still have a bit of work to do since that lightning bolt hit the majority of them, the majority of these players. Doesn't necessarily give them a strict advantage here.
Ginja has the bomb, dropping it off at the cliff, and it's Yada Bite who's caught up on the opposite end of it, falling back to fourth here, trying to catch back up to Goji, who is continuing to dominate here on Waluigi Pinball. Where is the blue shell when you need it right now? Because everybody who's not named Goji is praying for it to come right now on the final lap.
A blue shell would be just enough to kind of give them a little bit more of it. And I think there it is. Yeah, as you called for it. It does give them a little bit of a chance. We'll have to see if he gets the tools to dodge it. But it does give second place a chance to catch up, which means that we could see Ginja sneak in just past if timing is right.
Goji looks like they're going to be dodging that red shell as here comes that infamous blue shell approaching their location ever so quickly. They're going to stop right at the double box just so they can get another item, but Ginja now on their trail. Red shell thrown out. Does not have the tools to try and get another item box, but is still trying to snipe out Goji and take this lead away with the green shell. It is unfortunately not hit. Now it's all up to the pinball table. Ginja almost hits their own bomb as they come down into the incline.
Red.
Two red shells in second. Goji looking for the opportunity to dodge, but doesn't have the tools necessary. It's Ginja back up to the front. Can Goji make a comeback? The answer is no. Ginja steals another.
Ginja's going down fighting, and that does mean that now with all it takes is Goji getting another first place and Ginja getting a second, and we have a tie going into this. So it is a tough spot for these players. Yoda did finish in third, and unfortunately for Bonnie, it's going to be very, very far back. They'll finish up eventually, but it is down to the wire here. 3 points between first and second. If these guys flop players, we have yet another tie. So the pressure now is really on both of these players to come out in their respective first position.
The pressure is on if you are these players, especially if you are Ginja and Goji battling out for that final spot. It's all going to come down to if they can make it work here. As I see Yada Bite is going for an interesting approach here, trying to go for the me strategy. Please ignore the fact that this is my me. This is my me catalog. You can thank Metopia for some of these.
I mean, look, when you gotta make sometimes you need a change of pace when you're struggling. Yoda Bite technically, I don't know how close to much of the, I don't know if a first place necessarily catapult them in, but when you want to make a good showing, you might as well just make the changes you need. And like I said here, there's so many good racers, even if you don't necessarily clear on, you might as well race and test your strategies against the best that you're going to find.
And the final race for the last chance qualifier is Sky High Sunday. For those fans of Baby Park and Excite Bike, first off, how dare you? Second off, welcome to your third child, Sky High Sunday.
How dare you? This is a perfectly fine course. There's at least some amount of variation in it. It's not just a NASCAR. There's at least some things. You have to navigate your flying. You have to choose your pathing correctly. There are still plenty of difficult things that would be fine.
I like how you say it's not a NASCAR course, yet of the 3 loop tracks, this is the only one where you turn left. Regardless of which, Ginja coming up to a pretty strong advantage thus far, trying to get away from their opposition, knowing well that everybody behind them is going to be battling it out for the victory here. Still just continuing has the banana as a drag, but Goji is right on their bumper.
It's still, again, very early within the race, so we're watching for Ginja, who is well protected here with double banana on them. And every single poorly timed landing for them. So every trick is just a little bit better. Goji almost falling off as well. But this is gonna give Ginja a little bit more of a gap and a lead.
That banana that Goji hit was dropped by Ginja because of the lightning bolt, so a little bit of distance gain there because of circumstance. Bonnie, you can't go down there. You gotta fly up eventually on that sort of glider. But Ginja currently running away with the lead, trying to keep it in their possession. 10 coins in hand, protection as well. Ginja is riding pretty.
riding pretty for now. Those blue shells are due out anytime soon. I did see a star get popped in the back. And it is going to eat up a little bit of those, but, you know, again, now vulnerable here. All he has is the lead to help him out, especially with Yadabite coming in with a bunch of red shells between that first position.
Triple red shells from Yadabite. Jinja's lead is now in jeopardy. They're knocked off at the glider as well. In first place, they're backing up. They're going to back up, and Yadabite is going to take the brunt force of the blue shell. Unfortunate timing for Yadabite after they use their triple mushrooms, and Jinja will take back the lead again. Oh, but the bomb snipe from Yadabite coming back as well. Yadabite trying to bring it back, but they fall off the map, and guess who's in first? It's Goji.
Goji has sneaked this out. If he gets this and he gets the first place that we see in second, if there's anything else besides the first and second here, we have a tie. And if Goji wins this with Jinja falling anywhere below second, is going to Goji. So this is very crucial. Goji needs to hold this lead right now.
Goji in a very good spot to hold the lead. Jinja is the one that's in danger right now as Goji makes these final few jumps here on Sky High Sunday. They will secure a victory here. Is Jinja going to get second? The answer is a resounding no! Goji moves on to the grand finals.
Oh, that hurts. That hurts. Bowsy Ginja was feeling so good going into that. Only one outcome could have hurt them there. And unfortunately, it was one of the outcomes that just puts them out. I've seen a million different endings, and that was not the one I had predicted.
No, that was the most wildest ending. Everything went down to that final lap. The blue shell, the bomb snipe, Jinja just did not have the playing cards in their favor, and unfortunately will not have a spot in the grand finals, but came super close to getting into that position, especially up against Goji, who made an absolute name for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, Goji is a great player, as we've seen in the past, and again, I kind of assumed they were one of those players, they were going to be the lead player to go on, so kudos to Jinja for making a name and putting up an incredible fight, and condolences to all the other players who are joining the audience to see the incredible conclusion. But we are in our grand final lobby finally.
Yep, the grand finals are upon us here, as it's going to be interesting to see what these players are going to be able to do here in the grand finals. As we take a look at the standings here for the second chance qualifier, as Goji the Yoshi again coming out that big victory here, 54 points, 4 points more than Jinja, and being able to lock it up at the end of the day. It was so close.
It was so dang close. Even a second would have tied them. All they had to do was maintain second, and they could have gone on. But Goji will join the rest of the finalists, and this is a terrifying lobby here between Goji and Awoken, who are joining. And look at, I mean, Darky, Luckyo, Nina, Manga. I can't even, this is a star-studded lobby here. This is incredible.
Star-studded is an understatement. All of these players came here to try and win this tournament, and that's exactly what they're going to try to do here in the grand finals of the PlayEX Arena GameACon East 2024 Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Tournament. All of these players came here to win. They're all here for the bragging rights. They're all here for the win. They're all here for these amazing Razor swag that we're giving away. But only one can come away with the top elusive prize of first place here at PlayEX.
And it is going to be fought for tooth and nail and shell and star and bullet bill at this rate, because there is plenty more to go. And now we're getting into the deeper stuff here in the finals. So now we're going to see all those individual choices, all those individual things. We're going to have like 7 of 8 Yoshis. You realize that, right? There's going to be so many. This is just going to be Yoshi's Story, the kart racing game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that. I have the jersey on that perfectly represents that for your information.
I figured as much. I mean, it would be the Grand Yoshi in reality, but but you talked about it, right? Because the meta does revolve around Yoshi. It revolves around these light carts that are able to move and get up that speed quickly. So, I mean, am I shocked to see this? No, of course not. Am I a little annoyed as someone who likes variety in my games? Maybe a little, but am I really going to be mad? Of course not.
Listen, we also cast Overwatch. If there's anything we know, it's varieties never exists over there.
Yeah, we also know extreme disappointment, so I'm very happy to be here doing Mario Kart with you, Bowsy.
Very well. The Mario Kart tournament has been such a joy. There's been so many action-packed moments, but now it all comes down to this final Grand Prix as we see all 8 players setting up, getting their Switches ready for the final of the Grand Prix here today. Only one person can take away the title of the winner of GameACon East 2024 Mario Kart Tournament. We'll see which of these players is going to be able to do exactly that at the end of the day.
been a long day. It's been a long several hours to get to this point, Bowsy. There have been dozens of races for all of these players, and finally, a lot of these guys have had the chance to cool off and kind of reset, get a chance to look back and see the strategies that have come and gone. So, you know, of all of these players, you know, the only one who's still riding in from the previous run is going to be Goji. Goji's coming in hot off of this. Is that a benefit? I don't necessarily know. Maybe the chance to sit back and watch your competition will be the bigger factor here, but you know, the play-in players almost have a little bit of an advantage in that they got to see they've been going a little bit longer, but also maybe it's tired them out a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. It is getting pretty late. We're approaching the 2-hour mark of this tournament, so it's going to be very interesting to see how these players are going to be able to adapt to that, try to get themselves ready for such a long grind of a tournament, and which one's going to be coming out at the end of the day. Of course, it's been such a long day. There's been a lot of factors playing out for all of these players, so it'll be interesting to see which one of them can make everything work when it matters the most.
Mario Kart is a cruel mistress after all, so only 3 of our final Razors will go in and prize some of that Razor swag we've got for them. And I mean, again, I want to shout it out again because Starlight Foundation, who they entered and had to pay the fee for to come in and be a part of. Starlight Foundation absolutely coming in huge for us, and it's just a joy to be able to give back as gamers to those who may not be able to, you know, game as much and as hard as we do.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be such an interesting showcase to see which of these players is going to earn that elusive first place title at the end of the day. We're still waiting for everybody to get into the lobby, but once we do, it'll be a great showing nonetheless for all of these players to showcase what they can do here at the best of Mario Kart.
I think it's going to be interesting once we see. I think at this point in the game, level selection is going to be very important. Yeah, it's random still to a point, but there is something about, you know, making sure that you pick levels that aren't just, you know, throwaway levels. There are some of those levels, you know, I'm gonna come to Baby Park because it was the biggest wild card here, not because I just want to cause you, you know, pain. But when you look at something like Baby Park or an Excite Bike, those are the levels where we saw some of those sleeper players really come in and find their pathing. So I wouldn't be shocked if we see some of those pocket picks come out of these players. Those levels that they know they're good at, that maybe aren't meta, but they feel they can steal, you know, some higher placements on.
As we're waiting for all the players to get into the lobby here, we're going to be starting here momentarily for all 8 of our players. Again, this is a refresh of who is in these finals matchups. Enemy Yashi, Mankalore, Nina Hart, the OG MPB, Luckyo, and Darky, all of which finished top 2 in their sets. Then, from the last chance qualifiers, Awoken with a dominant performance, and Goji the Yoshi with a very tight-knit battle against Jinja. So, it's all going to come down to this. It is the final stretch, the home stretch for this Mario Kart tournament, and we'll see which player is going to be coming away with the elusive first prize.
Everybody's looking pretty. It's all smiles up there on stage, and I think that's the thing I love to see. You know, it'd be so easy for us to sit here and be like, oh, the tension's high and whatever. But no, everybody's pretty relaxed, all things considered. You can see some stern faces, but everybody, for the most part, you know, it's smiling. It's a good atmosphere. Win, lose, draw, or blue shelled, you're still having fun, and that's really what it's all about here. That's what I love about being on the LAN environment. There's so many emotions that run high, but mostly everybody's just here to have a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. As we're about to get started here with the finals. And the interesting thing about this is we are going up from 4 races to 12.
So the benefit to that, really, because there's only benefits here, I should say. Benefit for us because we get to watch a ton of more races, which is exciting. But also now every individual race is a little less important. Sure, if you catch an 8th one round, you can kind of overshadow that by making sure you make a top 4 in the others. It doesn't mean you can slack off a little bit, but it does allow you the chance to have a bad race and still recover, which at this level and in this lobby, I could see a lot of people having a bad race here or there.
As we're about to load in to the final set of Mario Kart, starting off on Sherbet Land. It all comes down to this. These 8 players have made their way to the top and are now fighting for a chance at glory. We'll see which one is going to be able to get it the best at the end of the day.
Mind the snow, because there still is some open ice, and that lower path is available for those who want to try to take it. It may not necessarily be the best option, but it might be an option if you need to make an escape. And not to mention, these turns can get pretty quick and sharp, so making sure you hit all those drifts is so important.
The most important part of all this, however, is, again, you mentioned it, Yoshi's story right now, except it probably is Yoshi's Island almost, because there is a single Mario in the mix of it, and it's Anime-Yashi, ironically, who is leading this race as well.
The Anime Yoshi just decided, look, isn't Mario just the Anime Yoshi in some ways? But the plumber is leading the way, coins in hand, will get a second item, and Nina, who had a very strong showing in that in their previous set, now falling into 6th. Yeah, this is kind of what I expect. I don't think we're going to see a runaway from any first place here like we had in the previous qualifier sets.
It is neck and neck between the first 4 and the bottom 4, all separated into their respective groups. Awoken trying to catch up to Darky now, who has the lead, using one of my questionable me's when I was around, I don't know, 12 or whatever. Regardless of which, Awoken has triple bananas and the red shell in hand. Darky, a bomb, and a coin.
So the coin's going to have to work. Fortunately, you'd like to cash that in now because you're only at 8, so they'll get the 10, and that'll keep them at their max speed. Now that bomb is just used defensively here. Oh my gosh, there's 5 Black Yoshis. I just happened to look and see that. I was like, as the crowd finally spread out a little bit, but it is, again, Darky just continues to lead the way. Great little jump there to buy the space, and they're pulling away, but not too far away that they are unstoppable.
Luckyo now making an advance here on the final lap of Sherbetland, trying to catch up to Darky. I mean, we saw it in that third set. Luckyo and Darky were really the two most impactful players in the lobby.
So dang close to that.
It's so close between the two. Luckyo trying to catch up, but Darky is currently running away with it here on Sherbetland, trying to find any advantage. Luckyo is taking these corners tighter than any driver I've ever seen in a drifting car, trying to get any sort of momentum, but they just can't catch him.
No, and they're going to have to use that defensively. The ink will come in, but it doesn't do any good here. Darky will take this first place here, followed up by Luckyo. Mangalore showing up in the 7th is a tough spot. We'll get the bullet. Oh, is it enough to pass? They do sneak their way into 4th place.
They do get a shock dodge as well, thanks in part to I believe, last place, which was unfortunately Nina Hart, but still a really good play there from Mangalore to get that top position, or at least get more positions because of that lucky shock dodge.
I mean, again, that lobby is just so difficult. Goji, who we just saw fight for their life in that previous qualifier, had 7th. They fell all the way down to, like, this is an insane lobby, and all it's going to take is the right item set to give you a little boost into that. No one really ran away. Even the gaps for that first place weren't really enough to be commanding or really to be so sure of anything. Oh my gosh, what is that crown? What is that guy on that crown? That is quite the me.
That's one of my me's.
Why would you curse us like this? Why have you done this, Bowsy?
Blame 12-year-old me on a 3DS board. Anyway, as we load into our next map, our next race here, Squeaky Clean Sprint is the next one. I mean, at this point, we all.
I'm not gonna look. I'm not repeating myself here. If you don't know what Squeaky Clean's about, just jump back like an hour and you'll see me explaining the vlog. But what it does do is it does kind of make this meta, right? We now are coming to the point where racers are like, all right, I can almost predict someone's going to pick this level, so I know I've practiced this a bunch. I've run this a million times. It becomes that point where we're going to see who's really comfortable in these meta levels.
Darky already trying to show that they are an expert here on Squeaky Clean Sprint, already taking an early advantage, trying to find their way into the bathtub. It's not opting to trick into the bathtub, which is an interesting strat because you actually can gain more speed if you drift into water instead of tricking. Unfortunately, though, that's only going to not save you from green shells that could just come and ruin your day.
No, you can do all the smart things in the world you want, but sometimes you'll just get by a red shell like that by Nina.
Nina falling back a little bit, trying to catch back up. Luckyo up to second, and surprise, surprise, Anime-Yashi back up in front. We saw them dominate in their qualifier match, but now they seem to have sputtered a little bit. Still trying to find their advantage here. Awoken up to 4th as well. Again, another dominant player we saw in their last chance qualifier, showing what they're made of here in this race.
Yeah, these are still very close. You can see it on the mini-map there. No one's really ahead. There is kind of a bit of a gap among the top 3, but it's still not close enough where something like a blue shell or a lightning would really separate them. It's still fairly anybody's game here in Boston.
Yashi continues to lead this horde of Yoshis down through the pipes of Squeaky Clean Sprint. Still keeping a pretty strong lead thus far in this series. But now the red shell coming after them. It does hit the banana. They drop right at the ramp as they're going to be taking up this higher ramp. Mangalore, meanwhile, in the back, Crazy 8 in hand, spamming every item they can so that they can try to get another powerful item.
Mangalore had a pretty convincing lead in that first group and managed to qualify pretty easily. Struggling a little bit here, it proves that even the Titans can believe.
Oh, and here comes one of the biggest Titans of Mario Kart, the infamous blue shell chase chasing Luckyo down, trying to go for that banana to negate the iframes. That's exactly what they do. Beautiful heads-up play from Luckyo, but the bomb snipe from Anamiyashi all the way from the other side of the pipe knocks them all out. Anamiyashi back up to the lead here on Squeaky Clean.
Still no clear winner out of this, but Anamiyashi is leading the pack, has a little bit of defenses as they come moving past over this toilet. They have a turtle shell that's gonna, and they'll get the high path, which means that they can clear this out, and this is going to be a close down to the line finish for them.
Awoken trying to take the shortcut, go for a more riskier route, is going to take second. Anamiyashi will win the race, but Awoken stealing that second place could be big in the points picture. Nina Hart, unfortunately, settling in last place here on Squeaky Clean. Sprints OG MPB will finish 7th. But still a pretty good effort throughout the entirety of this matchup. And we're seeing the capability of all these players. Yeah. So everyone is all over the place.
16, 14, 14 is our top 3 right now. And that still means this is anybody's game. Anybody from the lower ranks can touch a first place and catch up. Like you said, there's so many more rounds to be played. You know, if you just struggle to kind of get it, if this is not your level, there's still plenty of time to catch up. So being how close that it is, 16, 14, and 14 right now, it's not like, again, much like all these races, there is no clear-cut winner. Anybody can still step in and catch this.
Yet despite that, we have 2 people picking Baby Park, one of which is Mankalore himself.
Look, I support. I'm going to stay by it. Look, if you need a strategical difference, if you can't win on your own choices, if you're struggling on those, sometimes you have to do something a little chaotic, evil even, and it is going to be Baby Park. Sometimes you have to play the chaotic evil option and just do what you have to do. This worked for others. I'm not saying I agree with it because I will get, unfortunately, strangled probably from this desk, but I will say it is a viable strategy as you need to.
Good choice on that. As we load in to our 3rd race of the finals, it is Baby Park. Get it out of the way now. Rip off the Band-Aid as it's still settling in. Obviously, it would be it's better now than later when it's like the last race of the Grand Prix and like it could be a points decider at the end of the day. Awoken taking it very calmly. Anamiyashi trying to go for that frontward momentum. At the front of the pack, I believe, is Mankalore, but I could very well be wrong. No, Mankalore is the one leading, and he picked Baby Park, so he wants to go for this aggressive play, despite this track being kind of favorable if you are toward the back of the pack.
Maybe, maybe he was onto something. Maybe there's a reason he knew it. And hey, you know what? I'm not saying we could see this again, but I'm saying if you don't think you can win, it's worth a 10-point bonus just to see this again and make the entire production crew scream.
Oh my God. Mankalore is still leading. Awoken, however, has triple mushrooms. Anamiyashi right on Mank's bumper, and you can see that these players are taking these turns extremely tight. They're not opting to go for the wide hairpin. They're going through the grass for the majority of the part, but now the blue shell is in play. Mankalore's lead might be in danger. They go for a banana to negate the iframes. Thankfully are able to save themselves from death, but now Awoken is going to take that lead away. The bomb lands right behind him and stops the Anamiyashi in his tracks. Awoken, however, has run away. No, the drag banana from Luckyo out of nowhere. Luckyo steals it away with the drag banana from the front.
It did give a lot of those players, so like I had said, it did give a lot of those players a chance to pop up. Mankalore got a pretty big jump out of that. Goji got a pretty decent jump out of that. So it did do exactly what Mankalore wanted to do. It gave him a chance to sneak in, get a couple high-value placements, and it wouldn't shock me if we see Excitebike come back for that same reason.
We'll have to see what these people are willing to pick here for those tracks, but definitely so far, it has been a tightly knit affair between all of these players. Everyone has been doing their best throughout the entire this match, and I'm not surprised now to see Mankalore go for Sky High Sunday, considering it's probably one of his favorite tracks. I mean, I'm really not surprised at that point, but now that Baby Park is out of the way, we can all relax. We're 1/4 through this grand final. We're 1/4 from this into this grand finals, and we're going to DK Mountain.
Again, it's hard not to say anything new about this, but I will say that is 1 point between Luckyo and Darky, who is at 21 and 20. So we are starting to slowly see a bit of separation in points, but it's still not clear. There's no runaway person in this first 4. We've seen a different first place in most of these races, so still very dependent on these levels that get picked.
Mankalore trying to make their way up. Darky continuing to make their way up here as we scale the mountains of DK Mountain, going toward this cannon area. A red shell was thrown, and I think it did land onto Mankalore. They're getting sent all the way back in the cannon. That's the Black Yoshi all the way in the back, just going through the cannon right now. Luckyo currently leads the pack through this treacherous mountain area and takes this shortcut on top of the mountain rocks to gain a little bit of speed and build up another drift as they head into these next hairpins.
it's going to be a difficult pace around these. While you do have at least one shell protection, you'll get another one here for Luckyo, who is sitting at the top of the board for now, and they'll take this nice little cut, and they'll have a coin to show for it. They had to give up the shell to try to get some more protection. But Anime Yashi is catching up with the help of that Piranha Plant. Might be able to get one if they're lucky.
And I believe Awoken also hit out Luckyo, so they're knocked down to the back. Anime Yashi will get hit by a red shell from Darky. Still, it's anybody's game right now. OGMPB currently sitting toward the back in 6th place, trying to make the most out of their item selection. Has a bullet bill in hand, and if you use this correctly, it can be a good thing. And the shock dodge as well. That's exactly what MPB needed to catch up to the front.
That is a huge comeuppance. Just look at that bullet bill just scoot past all the way into 3rd, and that's the joys of that. You are safe in that. They'll have a few mushrooms to keep themselves moving, but again, everybody's still catching right on back up with them thanks to those shortcuts. This is where that game knowledge just takes a little bit more and gives you a little bit more of an edge.
Awoken currently leading the field, taking these shortcuts, taking all these drifts as clean as possible. Darky hot on their heels. As the final lap begins here on DK Mountain, Darky trying to take this advantage and run away with it thus far, but only 5 coins in the bank and only 1 item to do so. They're going to have to wait to try and take their opportunity.
Going to have to work for now. We will see our first place manage to skip ahead a little bit, and the rest of the pack is not too far behind. So a blue shell means that this might become an even closer race here around race 5.
Everything on the line. Darky throws out the red shell, gets 4 in return. Buy 1, get 5 free. Darky doing everything they can right now to just continue putting pressure onto Awoken and take this lead away, trying to deny Awoken that potential chance of taking the shortcut. Every red shell going toward first place, but now there's more competition in sight. Darky takes the cut. Awoken unable to take the shortcut themselves. It's a battle between the top 2. It's currently Darky leading them out, and it's exactly what it's going to be. Darky winning the race, Goji second, and Luckyo securing top 3.
Again, these racers are throwing everything at each other. We're not afraid to stop each other from taking those shortcuts we need. And Goji now sneaking in towards the front of the pack here, coming in still far behind at 19, but we are starting to see a little bit of separation there. Those bottom 2 players just falling out of double digits. And it's tough to be in that position because when you know, once you start to see everybody start to hit 10, 20, and a little bit more, you start to go, all right, I don't know if I can make this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. This is the start. We're past the first quarter. There's still plenty more races to go. You cannot get disheartened here.
Yeah, definitely. It's only a third through. You can't really be getting yourselves down, especially because you still got 8 more races to go. This is a long final Grand Prix here to determine our champion, and anything can happen, especially in Mario Kart. You could jump all the way from last to first. We saw that with MPB with that lightning dot, with that shock dodge on the cannon. They were able to get up through there and be able to make some ground there. So we'll see if that's going to be the case here in our next race as we head over to Music Park yet again.
Again, just another good all-around. Now we're just getting into those levels that are just checks. Do you know the meta levels? Are you racing efficiently? Do you know your shortcuts? Have you done the paperwork to go behind it? It's at this race for the 5th, it makes total sense to see it.
As we're about to begin here on Music Park, Awoken looking to try and come back after such a devastating DK Mountain. Such a good effort, but just couldn't take the cut on the final lap. Triple bananas to start out. They're going to be keeping everybody away from them for the meanwhile as they try to catch up to this horde of black Yoshis right in front of them, as well as that single Mario that they're going to drag out.
I mean, I don't know the technical term for a group of black Yoshis, but I did see one try to fly, so unfortunately that'll be one of them falling out of contention. And Awoken still fighting into that 3 spot, manages to catch one. It does get the banana out of it, so coming into the jump section here, they'll have a little bit of protection in 2nd place, and they're looking like they might be able to take somebody out with them.
Yeah, they're going to chain that green shell so that they can get a double. Mankalore having a little bit of trouble, it seems, getting dragged by Nina Hart as well is not going to help their efforts as they're forced all the way into last place. Luckyo starting to make some advance here on this left side, going with those mushrooms up onto the piano keys. Another mushroom in the pocket as well as they try to catch up to the remainder of this pack. Right now at the front, though, it's all Darky all the time.
Darky is slowly pulling away from it. We'll be keeping an eye out for the rest of those Yoshi packs to see who's coming through. But Darky, again, just has been playing well, has been hitting all those jumps and tricks. But yeah, they'll lose. I guess the Ghost will take for now, but they still at least have a consolation point.
The red shell. They're going to have to really help out as the blue shell comes in, knocks them out. They are able to take that shortcut on the drum to try and mitigate the efforts here as the final lap begins on Music Park. Awoken is closely approaching Darky, trying to take that advantage, a super horn in hand, as Darky is looking to try and run away with yet another victory. Awoken trying to take it away.
We now have our top 3 separating out.
Oh, the back spam.
What a great horn from the back end, pushes it away back to 3. We've still seen these 3, and now with our first place separating a little bit further, it means that we've kind of got the picture of how this is going to play out. Mankalor holding on to 2 very strong items in 4th position, but I don't know that he has the ability to close the gap with them.
Luckyo trying to close the gap here to Darky, trying to find their way in. They backspam the red, they go the green, they go for the jet boost across the grass.
No.
Don't get across it in time, and Awoken steals the position away. Luckyo will have to settle for third as Darky takes first, and Awoken takes second in Music Park.
Mankalor is going to round us out in that 4th spot, and again, this is why you do so many levels, right? We're seeing those top numbers come in, and it's still relatively close. Darky is leading at 40, but you know the rest of the players 33, 32. It's still very open in the middle of the pack. Even if you think hope is lost and you don't think you're going to take first place, you know there's still prizes in 2nd and 3rd. So playing now for your best is still going to be the shot at getting some sort of prizing out of this.
It's all going to be on trying to get that prizing, all trying to be on keeping yourself content in this situation because, again, we're not even halfway through. After this race, it will be the halfway mark for this tournament. So it's all going to come down to if you can keep yourself composed and put yourself in a position to win at the end of the day. As we take a look again at our track selections, and we're still seeing a different variety from all of these players coming out.
Remember, now we're getting to the point in a 12-track race where you are struggling to start, you're going to have to start digging deeper into those non-meta races simply because we've seen a lot of them, and, we're going to start seeing some of these different ones for the first time here.
Well, we are going to be going to Waluigi Pinball here for our 6th race of the tournament. The halfway mark is right here, Goji being the one to pick that. And remember, we saw how on the Waluigi Pinball, Goji's pick, they weren't able to win the race due to an unfortunate circumstance. So this could really be anyone's game.
Yeah, there's still plenty to go. This is a marathon. Although these races are short sprints, it is still just an overall marathon in race 6. So, Darky can continue to expand their lead. You'd love to try to do that. Every single first place helps, but it is still a stacked field. And it's still very, very close going into this halfway point.
Everybody right close-knit to each other as they make their way down into the pipes of Waluigi Pinball, trying to find their way in the advantage. Darky drifting perfectly here, keeping themselves out in the front of the pack and not looking back.
No, but with Darky holding on to at least for some protection for now, it's at least a good opening spot, even if you don't have a lot of space to, give you a little bit of padding. And trade it up for the double here, and we'll get 2 for protection. Oh, that bounce off, though, is a bit unfortunate. You really would rather keep the space you do have.
Yeah, Darky hitting those pinball bumpers could be detrimental to them. Awoken, meanwhile, has double red shells in their pocket. Going to be throwing one back, going for the defensive play, not willing to go for the aggressive play onto Darky. They want to try to keep their space maintained throughout this race.
I actually don't disagree with that decision. I think it's smart. When you know Darky is already a commanding leader, kind of like I was saying earlier, it's sometimes better just to cement your 2nd position and then try to play in for your first spot. Maybe you can overtake on the last lap, but for right now, getting your 2nd or 3rd in a multi-race like this is so important.
Beanhard unleashed the shock, was unable to get anybody dodged with it as the field starts to get a little bit closer together. Awoken approaching Luckyo, who's trying to pass them as the blue shell now comes out for Darky, who has nothing to try and protect themselves up against it. They will take the brunt force of that, entering into the final lap, and Luckyo is going to try to take advantage of it. Double red shells in their pocket. They get Darky with one. They block the other with the wall dodge to keep themselves in the lead.
That was a smart move, just playing close, so close that it forces it to, and they maintained that red shell now. So a great just mechanical read to keep themselves safe and protected for the future. It's coming now to Awoken, who's just got a stack of mushrooms in hand. Not necessarily the best thing you'd like to see here, but for 3rd place, it can at least close the gap now.
Oh, but it's going to be hard to close the gap when Animiyashi snipes you out of that position. Animiyashi making a comeback here. OG MPB looking in 4th, trying to get a good finish here in this Grand Prix. Looking for anything here. Luckyo in 1st, gets redded out by Darky, who takes that lead back. And double red shells in 1st. The perfect recipe here for Darky, trying to run away with a victory here on Waluigi Pinball, and that's exactly what they're going to be doing.
Darky again, this is just cementing their path, but Awoken, that's so unfortunate, kind of able to capitalize on those fireballs. Goji got hit one last time, but it wasn't enough to do it, and they'll push them into 8th. But again, Darky just taking to the 1st place. Darky just is continuing to take these leads, and at some point you kind of have to look and say, all right, I don't think I'm catching Darky, I can still play for second and third, though, and there's no shame in that here at the halfway point. 50 points and starting to pull away is enough to kind of almost consider changing to plan B in some ways.
Something has to change right now to stop Darky from this lead dominance that they've been able to put on here in this showing. It's going to be interesting to see what these players are planning, what they're going to try to do here to stop Darky and stop his reign of terror here at GameACon East 2024. If you take a look currently at the track selection, some interesting tracks coming out here, including Wario Stadium, which is mostly known for being a track that you can excel at if you're at the front of the pack.
Well, we'll have to check and see.
Choco Mountain will be the
Choco
pickup
Mountain.
here. That's Awoken's pick, so Awoken obviously trying to get a little bit better luck after such a devastating Waluigi pinball.
33 points for Awoken. Not far out from that first place position. So, getting your pick in a spot like this does you really, really well. It means you might be able to steal the first or at a minimum the second and the third and keep yourself in a position to get some of that sweet swag.
We begin here on Choco Mountain. The horde of Yoshi stampede across the mountainside, trying to find their advantage. Nina Hart unable to get an item here to start off the race, trying to look for any sort of advantage as the rest of the Yoshi clans just continue through this cave area.
And this is a tricky area between the bats, between these turns. It does make your drifting a little bit more difficult. You have to make sure your timing and drifts and getting more appropriate. And if you don't, that's what happens to Crystal Ball and Nina Hart.
They use their triple mushroom here to try and catch up with the rest of the pack. OG MPB currently in their sights, trying to catch up to at least one person in this field. Animiyashi does get knocked out as well, trying to throw the boomerang to try and knock anybody out in front of him, but fortunately is a whiff right now. Second lap begins, and Mangalore passing 2 on that single turn.
It's going to be Mangalore still fighting in. They've been getting slowly and progressively better. Trying to snipe. Does hit Awoken with the banana, so a great shot. They will use the sound, but it doesn't quite catch him on that. So Mangalore will move into second now. Single banana for protection.
Good awareness to see that super horn on there and immediately know that Awoken was going to use it. And they drag Awoken as well at the beginning of the cave entrance. Meanwhile, Luckyo here is currently running away. Double green shell protection is going to be losing one of them. Tried to hit themselves with the green shell to negate the effects of the blue shell. Unfortunately missed, but still has a commanding lead here on the final lap of Choco Mountain.
Not sure how much that blue shell really made a difference there. Bullet Bill coming up now, though, is going to put a gap closed in, and it will be Nina Hart coming in that second spot, who's not seen a ton of success. So this is a great change of pace for them. Sometimes it takes a different level for you just to kind of find your ground.
Nina Hart looking to get this higher position, has the red shell in hand, but the red shell's coming behind them as well. They're able to land on that platform as the competition gets ever so closer. Luckyo, however, is continuing to lead. Animiyashi taking away that second spot. Red shell in hand, drags Nina out, sends them all the way packing to the back of the pack as Luckyo is going to take the victory here. Animiyashi securing that second place position.
We'll have to see where Darky ended up, because as the leader, they fell into third, so that's still quite a big chunk change for them. But it still keeps them in that first place spot. Luckyo and Animiyashi now moving up a little bit further into the brackets. Again, we're over the halfway point, so having a bad race, if you aren't warmed up, you should be warmed up by now. So most of your bad races should be almost out of the way by now. At this point, if you're gonna you have to find your levels and you have to play your best. It's a marathon, so if you aren't hitting your stride now in 7, 8, 9, this is where we're gonna start to see you separate and start to just you're gonna start slowly fading quick.
Yeah, you don't want to be fading quick here, especially in the latter half of this tournament. As we'll see what the next track is going to be. A lot of different picks, some of which are actually more attained to getting those front-running positions, but none of them are going to matter because we're going over to Athens Dash.
It'll be Athens again, and again, not much to say about that. It is a little bit tricky. If you know your shortcuts, you can get this out. And in this lobby, I'd argue at least more than half of them know what they're doing. I'm sure half of them are excited to see this. So, number 8 race here coming in, and there's still plenty more points to be had.
8 of 12. This will be the 2/3 mark of this tournament. We're almost through all 12 of these races in the grand finals. Let's see who's going to be able to take the victory here on Athens Dash. Will Darky cement themselves farther in the lead, or someone that we haven't talked about much going to try to take an upset victory?
Yeah, Goji had a great run back through that last chance bracket, but this is just a tough field. It's so hard to manage through it. And you look at the talent here, it's hard to say something like such a fighting chance to get here and see them struggle. I can't say I'm shocked.
As Everyone flies toward the Courageous Monument of Thrasilus. Goji currently trying to hold in that third position, backs out away from the rest of the pack, just trying to avoid any potential danger with the rest of their opponents. Still in fourth position, still has first in their sights. He's trying to hunt them down as they go through the Theater of Dionysus in a different angle, but the bomb waiting for them, they're able to dodge it though.
Huge dodge, and that gives some of those players that manage to skip it to go through. Darky and Luckyo sitting in the 1-2, a familiar scene for most of us. But, I mean, Darky misses that snipe, so that does leave Luckyo a chance to kind of get back in the game here.
Luckyo could try to get that advantage here. And Miyashi, without any items, falling back to 6th here as the final lap begins here on Athens. Oh, the backspam from Mangalore landing onto Awoken as well. That is going to hurt. As now Goji, triple green shells in hand, could hit all of these targets in front of him to try and knock them out and try to take advantage of it.
Pack's still very, very packed together, too, so there's no runaway. It means a green shell or a lightning bolt could really give everybody a hassle, but it's not going to come with how close. There's no real defined back. I say that the top 3 are starting to spread apart.
As we approach the Parthenon yet again, it's Darky continuing to lead as they head up the steps. Oh, they missed the wall! They hit the wall at the most crucial point, and Luckyo's going to take advantage of it. Darky, a crucial mistake, cost them a victory.
You can escape with that if you're Darky. You're a little mad, but I don't think you're losing sleep over it. You still are the points leader for now. It's not a big lead. You are holding at 64 with Luckyo in 59, so it's not a safe lead, but you're still, you can kind of, like I said, you can, when you're hitting these 12 races, you can afford a mistake or two. You just can't afford to let multiple mistakes happen. So for Darky, you're still in the first spot. Shake it off, regather, pick a level, and let's go, because first place is still within your sights.
First place is still on the table here if you are Darky, so we'll see if they're going to be able to keep that in their favor here. Let's wait to see what these people are going to try to select for their next track. Sky High Sunday, Weibo back on the menu, Cheeseland coming out from Animiyashi, an interesting pick, but one that can play to your favor, especially if you're in the back. And that's exactly what Animiyashi's going to get.
I do love my food-themed levels, so it'll have to do for now. And you can see the numbers here. Speaking up a little bit, 64 for Darky is leading the way. And it's still, again, now we're starting to see the numbers thin out here as we go to Cheeseland.
4 races remain here in this tournament. And we'll see who's going to get the advantage here on Cheeseland. If you want to talk about a race you want to talk about a track where everyone takes advantage if they're in the back, this is one of them. It is dubbed Smuggle Desert 2 for a reason, as Darky goes all the way back, way behind the start line to try and take advantage of those item smuggles.
Yeah, he's doing this so he can make sure he gets some good items while he naturally races his way up. And Goji didn't quite have to do that as much for now, but you can see they both are holding on the stars, so going to try to bump him out of the way. He does bait the star out of Goji, so that is a great place for Darky to be.
Already baiting out one of those powerful items is good. Mangalore, meanwhile, the Smuggle Master himself, opting not to smuggle, waiting right now for the perfect opportunity to make their way forward. As Nina Hart currently in 2nd place, trying to catch up to the rest of the pack here on Cheeseland. Anything can happen on this track, however, especially because you get so many powerful items. The farther and farther you get away from first.
Even in 2nd, Nina Hart still manages to find a start. Doesn't quite clip that. That's unfortunate, but they'll have to settle with a 2nd place. Blue Shell coming through here is going to hit that first place pack leader, and the bullet mill from Goji is going to close the gap on them, so they'll be able to fighting chance now.
And that bullet bill is just going to be extended all the way out to this glider because of how many sharp turns there are. Blue Shell did hit, but as you can see, the distance remains mostly the same here. Awoken trying to take advantage of the items that they have with 1 lap remaining here on Cheeseland. It could all come down to this. Who is winning on Smuggle Desert number 2? As Awoken gets the stolen item here. Mangalore, a powerful set of items in their hands. Will they be able to use this effectively? Know that everyone knows that they have them.
Especially with how there it is, they will send it out. But the question is who's really benefiting, and it's the bullet bill that benefits. They missed that, so they should be able to push him in, and that's Nina Hart in 2nd, benefiting off that bullet bill.
Nina Hart loses their red shell, but still making a valiant effort, making their way all the way to the front. Luckyo, however, continues to lead this race. Can Nina Hart get a mushroom, try to take this shortcut to make it work? They go for the cut, unable to make it all the way as Luckyo's going to win the race, and so many Yoshis coming from the back. Cheeseland in action as Nina Hart goes from 2nd to 6th in a single straightaway.
That is a tragic happening. Again, that risk-reward factor of trying to take the shortcut and give yourself an advantage just backfired because they came up a little too short. And it can feel so disheartening to hit that and come back. So still, we're coming into the last of our races here, Bowsy, and now we're starting to see all these players. Again, the end of the marathon's coming. Who still has juice left? Who still has a level or two in their pocket that they can win on?
It's all going to come down to these final levels. If you can make it work, if you can hit the right strategies, if you can hit the right lines, and if you can find that victory at the end of the day, it all comes down to how well these players are going to be able to do. And we see a lot of different variants of levels here, from Neo Bowser City to Rosalina's Ice World. It is all across the board here on what these players are trying to think of to try and find the advantage.
Yeah, again, now we're coming into those levels of personal preference. We've seen a lot of the meta levels, and maybe one or two, like Neo Bowser City. You can see pick them multiple times, didn't quite get picked, but we're starting to that point where we're looking and saying, okay, where do I have an advantage? Where can I give myself an edge? And I think, okay.
Yoshi Island.
Okay, Yoshi Island is fine. I know a lot of people love to race on that. It is twisty and turny, but it's still a pretty stable, flat one. No jumps to really worry about. There's still plenty of shortcuts to use, so still a pretty standard amongst the races.
I will also say we may have glanced over the fact, but there was a tie for first in the lobby. Darky and Luckyo at 69 points apiece, which is very nice.
That is very
this
nice.
race will break that tie, so it's all coming down to these final 3 races as the competition is getting closer and closer.
It's, again, and with so few races still left, we're coming into the last 2 now. Every single placement now matters. If you had your bad race, hopefully you're making your good ones now. And Awoken, who's been constantly in this position, this first spot, needs to maintain it if they want to stand a chance of coming into prizing.
Awoken keeping themselves in contention, currently leading this race. Bangalore not far behind in 4th. Taking that glider strat, going in with this sort of speed, trying to find the advantage here. And it looks like somebody did hit the special cloud to unleash the red bridge so that everyone gets that easy shortcut.
I mean, hey, it's nice of them to make it lead from everybody else, but it'll have to do for now. Hopefully, that'll give them a chance to get ahead as well, as the pack is beginning to thin here. Oh, and Nina just unfortunately taps that as the blue shell goes by, so there's still a bit of a chance for first place to kind of fall up and have to fight for the position.
Woken gets hit by the blue shell. Bangalore now starting to catch up to the rest of the pack. Darky currently sitting in second with a mushroom in hands. Awoken going to be sacrificing their lead, and now is getting pummeled out by red shells on the glider. Going to be falling a little bit farther back as well. Unfortunate for Awoken as Darky now starts to run away with the lead and is trying to hit that cloud. Unfortunately misses it. No one hits it behind him to trying to trigger it for the bridge.
No, but they do have the mushroom going into this, and Darky is going to be able to get ahead for it. So still staying first because, like you said, there is a tie. Oh, must have not seen the banana there. Like you said, it's now tied for first place, so Darky really needs this if they want to clutch it out and get first place. They need to stay ahead here.
Last lap on Yoshi's Island. Animiyashi now is in the conversation with the top 2 as Luckyo and Darky are in their sights, but they miss the items at a crucial moment. Luckyo has 2 red shells to their name, trying to take advantage of Darky and try to bait him out and put themselves in a situation to try and win this map, to take that lead in the series with 2 races remaining. The red shell goes. Darky is caught out. They fall back, and Luckyo is now running away. The cloud is activated. The bridge is open, and Luckyo is running away with the victory on Yoshi's Island.
Making one last check to make sure there's no one behind him. Luckyo will now break that tie and move on into first place. And again, we see ourselves in a situation here.
Awoken.
Goji took second, so that means that there is still quite a bit to go. And Luckyo at 79 points. Darky at 72. There is a world where they tie here, but it is very, very unlikely.
It's getting closer and closer as the series goes on. Luckyo and Darky seem to right now be the favorites to win this entire thing. With only 2 races remaining, it's all up to these final 2. And I believe, if the math is correct, there's a chance. There's really only those 2 that can actually win this entire thing. So it's a battle between those 2 to try and determine who is winning this tournament.
That will set our first and second. So third place is still fairly open, I believe, in the middle of the pack here as we head on into our next track.
Rainbow Road seems to be the pick here.
What a fitting way to end a nice final of Mario Kart. It has to be a Rainbow Road, right?
Well, it's actually the second to last race.
All right,
so.
well.
You were close.
I wanted the spectacle, but there's multiple. Who knows? Maybe
We'll definitely see. There are 5 Rainbow Roads in Mario
5,
Kart 8
in here.
Deluxe, so we'll see who's going to be winning the first one played in this series. Makelor starting near the back, unfortunately misses all of the items, and is probably going to be witnessing the amount of chaos right in front of him. Unfortunately gets dragged out by a green shell in the midst of all of it, and starting to fall back even more.
You can see everybody was trying to get their drifts in and trying to make sure that they could get a little bit extra boost, and it caused that bit of chaos once the items couldn't be seen as he punishes. So Makelor in 7th here, the mushrooms at hand, that's going to have to be their consolation prize as they try to get just a little bit of boost coming off of those jumps.
They're going to be using the mushrooms to take that
what a
ultra
jump, Makelor.
shortcut.
Oh.
Misses it, however, at the most crucial moment. Not a good look for Makelor, trying to make a comeback here. Meanwhile, at the front, Darky in first. Anime-Yashi off of the Mario over to Villager. Looking like a Mario Kart 8 Wii U combo out here with the Biddy Buggy and Villager trying to catch up to Darky in first.
I mean, sometimes you have to make those changes right when you're coming into your last map. You have to figure out what needs to change if you're not quite drifting, if you're not quite hitting your turns, or something isn't working right. You have to make a change. And Yashi has been the one to make those changes from Yoshi to Mario to Villager.
Now the blue shell comes out. Darky trying to avoid it, throws the banana forward and hits the banana to negate the frames, gets rid of that blue shell destruction, but now has no defense in their favor. Has to go for those item boxes on the half pipe. Roji trying to catch up as well in 5th place. It is currently seen there is a little bit of separation, but it's closing fast, it seems.
Yeah, there's still no point. Oh, Koji, no, unfortunate, not able. Unfortunately, takes that turn a little too close. We're still, everybody's still relatively close. All it's going to take is one quick item use or one good shot from a red shell to really close the gap and keep it even tighter.
As Luckyo is now caught up to this top 2, right behind Darky, who is trailing on that edge of the road, trying to make sure Luckyo cannot take advantage. The final lap here on Wii Rainbow Road, and the blue shell's in play. Darky is going to back out and let Luckyo take the lead.
It's the smartest play. They know there's a blue shell coming, and they want to try to avoid it. Luckyo manages to avoid it, though!
The mushroom dodge from Luckyo to take the lead. Super Horn remains intact for the leader. Luckyo starting to run away with it all, trying to take this title for their own.
This is, I say, and with Anime-Yashi fighting on their tail, I mean, they're fighting for 3rd at this point, but Luckyo could close this out and secure 1st place with this win.
It all could come down to this. Darky trying to chase them down. Meanwhile, back in 4th. Makelor right in front of him. Anime-Yashi in 2nd right now on that Villagers. Makelor takes the tight angle, is going to get hit, but will still get the boost. And Darky gets hit as well. Not an ideal situation if Darky wants to try and win this GP. Anime-Yashi right up on Luckyo's bumper, trying to catch him, but it won't be enough as Luckyo is going to win on Wii Rainbow Road.
It was a good change, and it's good enough for a 2nd place. That might be enough to keep them in the contest for 3rd here. Awoken coming into that 3rd slot, but again, when you look at the top 2 who are fighting, Anime-Yashi might have secured themselves into a top 3 contention spot. 89 points for 1st place, 61 at Anime-Yashi at 3rd means that it is pretty secure that one of our first 2 places are going to go in, and there's going to be a fight for 3rd here, Bowsy.
I believe, as I see that, the points...
Yep.
So 1st place, if I recall, gets 10 points. While Luckyo, I believe, has a 15-point advantage.
Doesn't matter.
So I believe we have now, because Darky's unfortunate 7th place on that final race, the championship has been decided, and Luckyo is the champion.
There's still 2nd and 3rd place still to be fought over.
There is still 2nd and 3rd. Of course, we still have prizes for 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah, look,
so it
like
all
I
comes
said
down to
earlier,
this.
Like I said earlier, even if you don't think you can get 1st here, even if it's out of your grasp, you still need to look and say, can I get 2nd or 3rd? Is it still playable? And it still very, very much is here. 2nd place is sitting at, I believe it's 74 and 61. So a 1st place for either our second or 3rd places could bump them up to that second place finish.
So we'll see what's going to happen here as our final race is Dry Desert. Remember how I said Cheeseland was Smuggle Desert 2? This is Smuggle Desert 1 you are witnessing here. You already see Makelor, his signature move, waiting for the perfect opportunity and bringing those items for the front.
Well, they're not bad items. They'll take a couple mushrooms and one for a road. The Luckyo sitting back in 8th, grab a star out of it. So again, when multiple people try that same smuggle strategy, it kind of does hurt a lot of them. So I mean, you can see the gap here. There's just some good, honest racing up there in the front for now.
Yeah, the classic Syndrome line. If everyone smuggles, no one. Anime-Yashi currently takes the lead here to start off here, using this Villager to their advantage with a banana in the pocket. But again, You see that cluster of Yoshis all the way toward the back. They're going to be making their way to the front as quickly as possible. MPB in third, going to be reading out Awoken here, but Awoken's just going to wait to try and get another item in their favor.
It genuinely just feels like all these Yoshis just chasing after the poor villager, but OG MPP does manage to have that. Mangalore, again, just taking the strat, going to try to smuggle up what he can. 2 mushrooms is going to be his consolation here as he pushes himself into 6. And at some point, you might have to consider, is this really worth the strat? Darky is thinking the same thing. Everybody's kind of hit it. Those top-end players, they still think it's worth it.
Yeah, the smuggle's still there. The smuggle can work here on Dry Desert. It can go all the way up until the final lap. It's going to be interesting to see how these players respond. Goji with the lightning bolt in hand, waiting to use it because there's so many people currently in the star power-up. Can dodge it, but they wait for everyone to use it and to use it for their own. Goji, perfect realization there. Actually, someone might have gotten hit with the. Someone might have gotten it. It was Luckyo, and Luckyo. I'm sorry, that's a shock in first.
Yep, that is a shock holding into the first.
Oh no, that's not a shock. That's a star.
All these, I say, they're holding out incredibly well here. And I was going to say, we did have the villager out front, but Luckyo now, having survived that with the bullet bill, moved themselves to the first, and now with a star means they are protected for a decent while. Even if anybody comes up to try to contest them, they are covered, and they're going to punish them if they'll use it for speed.
Star comes out from Luckyo, going to be using it to go across this shortcut, and a championship under their belt. They claim the win in the final race anywhere. Luckyo taking the win on Dry Desert to secure the championship.
Yeah, I mean, they had already secured it, but then you might as well go out with a slam like that. Coming in at the second position, I believe, was... Who was it? Was it Darky coming in at 2? I didn't quite see it.
It was hard to see, but nonetheless, an impressive display of talent here from all of these players, making it this far throughout the bracket. Wow. And now that's the championship for Luckyo. What a performance they put on here today to claim that championship here at GameACon East 2024.
99 points for first place over 12 races. That is quite just a phenomenal showing. You know, you're looking at probably an average of, top 3 for the majority of them. So kudos to them. Darky will take second. I believe it was Anime-Yashi. We'll get those numbers in just a second. But, considering how close Darky was to neck and neck for the most part, that last level just secured them second place. So, hey, going home with something is better than going home with nothing.
Yeah, definitely. You do get some amazing Razor swag if you finish in the top 3 of the tournament. So, no matter what, people go home happy at the end of the day, especially for Darky, who, up until Wee Rainbow Road, was in contention to win that. Just an unfortunate level of circumstance did not go their way. But still, what a performance from all of these players on the final stage. Yeah. Just an absolute amazing Mario Kart performance to get here in the first place and putting on a show here in the grand finals.
I mean, you can even just see how tired these players are. That was a marathon of them. Yeah, Luckyo at 99, Darky at 80 coming in the second. And Anime-Yashi did sneak into third place, just edging out Awoken, 64 to 61. I mean, just an incredible bit of play from all of these players here in this final set.
Yeah, definitely a strong performance from all of these players. And we're going to be getting a chatter with the champion of the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe tournament here in a second as Luckyo is approaching the stage. They're just grabbing everything before they come over here to talk with us for a winner's interview for such an amazing performance here in that Grand Prix. Just so much good performance from Luckyo, being able to make it work when it mattered the most.
And it was not an easy field when you look at all the players who were competing today. All of those 20, every single one of them played their hearts out here.
As Luckyo is now coming over for the winner's interview. Come on, take the headset and take a seat, my friend. Congratulations on your victory here in the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe tournament here at GameACon East 2024. How does it feel, my friend?
I don't know, I'm fine.
Totally fine. Nothing. Just nothing. You came into this expecting this victory.
I just wanted to have fun and play. So, isn't that what's most important?
Fair enough. But, that's what matters at the end of the day.
What's very important is you just have to stay composed. If you get hit out in the beginning, it's all right. It's Mario Kart. Anything happens.
Yeah.
So.
We've said it so many times. Anything can happen at that. And as the game goes on, take me through the first qualifier. Darky and Gojo in your set, both of them being probably some of the best throughout not just that qualifier, but also through this entire tournament. What was it like feeling the pressure of having those two always up against you in that series?
I had to get a feeling at it first, specifically the room. There wasn't really that much in the front, so I tried running as fast as I possibly could and hoping I didn't make any mistakes. I remember at the beginning, I had to get used to a delay, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, they're all talented racers.
Yeah.
I still give it my all. I don't quit out easy.
Yeah, definitely. You love to see that sort of persistence throughout the entirety of this tournament, giving it your all at every single step. Now take me through Wee Rainbow Road. You're coming into that final lap. Darky drops out from the blue shell, and you're in prime position. What was going through your head at that moment?
Like I said, I was composed. I needed to dodge the blue shell. I did, and I had to just... I was more paying attention to the road because I saw a couple of bananas on the field, and I almost hit one before the cannon. I was actually very close, but I played it very safe, just in case anything happened. Like I said, anything happens. So as long as you play very safe, like if you're at that final lap, you're probably good.
Yeah, definitely a strong performance from you. Any final shout-outs you would like to give out for your championship winning here today?
Shout out to everyone who motivates me. I mean, can't be the person who I am today without these guys. Shout out to my family. They were out there watching. They're very supportive people. So.
Yeah, great to have that supportive family.
Exactly.
Helping you in your Mario Kart career. Well, I have some good news. You were the first place contender, which means you get all of that cool stuff you see there on your right. You can fit them within this Razor bag. Special shout out to Razor for providing us the prizing here for this tournament. Congratulations again on your Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Championship here at GameACon East 2024. And we hope to see you in future Mario Kart events in the future.
Thank you so much. GG's to everyone. Had a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
Yeah, definitely. Strong performance from Lucchio here in this tournament. So, I mean, definitely, we saw it there. Just the calm and cool composure, not phased at all. Like this, keeping it calm. That's how you do it the best here at the end of the day.
Especially in a marathon situation like that, it is really hard to keep yourself composed over so many races. Let's be real. There were at least, multiple of those going in here. Who we got coming in? Oh, Darky, okay. Darky, congratulations on that second place. I know it's not first, but hey, it's better than nothing.
So I got second, but I feel like I made a lot of mistakes. I could have played better, but, I'm proud of how I played. I had fun at the end of the day, so that's all that matters.
I mean, in the reality of it all, we were kind of talking about it from, minute one. This is a pretty stacked field, all things considered. Yeah, I mean, this had to be a lot of familiar faces to you, right?
Yeah, a lot of familiar faces. I recognize, most of these people. I've seen them around the community a bit, so yeah, I know how they play.
So, I mean, talk to me about it, because you've played at the highest levels and you've played and grinded it out. What do you think is one of the hardest things about getting to the competitive aspect of Mario Kart like this?
One of the hardest aspects is putting in the motivation, putting in the effort to become one of the top players, because it's obviously hard to you can get into competitive aspect how I say it. You can get into competitive aspect because there's a lot of people come will and welcome you, But in terms of getting to top division, it's hard. You got to put in the effort, a lot of effort, but to get there.
It's a grind to really get to that point. Anybody you want to shout out? Anybody you want to give a special thanks to here while you're bringing home your prizes?
Shout out to my family, my mom and dad, my sister, all my grandparents.
Yeah,
and then one of my friends that supported me around the journey throughout the years.
It's a long road ahead. Well, go ahead and grab that bag there for yourself. That is yours, along with that headset and this camera right here, I believe.
Yep. Thank you very much.
So congratulations on your second place. You're not going home empty-handed at least, and that's better than nothing. So congratulations, Darky, on this incredible marathon performance in Mario Kart here today.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
And it has been a marathon here in Stamford overall from the early hours of Smash today to the late evening Mario Kart. There's still plenty more stuff coming at you tomorrow here. Bowsy and I will be back tomorrow morning to bring you the Mario Kart teams in the afternoon, and we're going to bring you some Rocket League 3v3s in the future. We're done for now, but come back tomorrow here in beautiful Stanford for even more in the future.